Oh yeah. This is great.
Hey guys, this is great. Just so you know, this is great.
It looks fantastic.
We are very proud of ourselves on our first podcast episode.
And we're
I think we
only
did
40 minutes late.
We're only 40 minutes.
40 minutes late. That's not too
Oh
bad.
yeah, I'm not talking. I have to not talk to the
We're
camera.
so used to being on stage and like presenting that we keep wanting to look at the camera.
But this is supposed to be casual.
It's supposed to be casual. You're supposed to just like.
So are we gonna pretend we just entered the room and we haven't seen each other for the last
Yeah.
hour? Hey guys, how are you?
I mean, everything's recording, so it should be fine.
It's great. Things are nice. Things are nice. Yeah.
I'm overly caffeinated and shaking.
Should we should we introduce the name of the podcast? Is that
There's
usually
a lot
probably
of things
a good
we're
idea.
gonna have to figure out.
It's a good
as we do this.
idea.
We'll play the theme song first.
Whatever that is.
See, I was hoping. Yeah.
And then a fart sound. There you go.
I was hoping that we would do like an acoustic thing in the future. Like, because
Get your guitar.
we make so much music, it would be so easy to just make a song we play and then it fades in on us as we're sitting here.
I call it egg shaker.
Do it improv every show.
But yeah, what if we have like a very small thing and we just like
That's great.
have a guitar and
Build on
it's
it.
only like maybe
Make
30
some-
seconds,
Make
maybe
some new
less.
music every episode.
And then we force whoever the guest is to
no,
sing.
No.
Dance.
to sing like the last part at least, like Bennettarium.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe. It's a Bennettarium.
Okay, you do that, and I'll do some improv dancing for this stream.
Wait, is that too loud? Let me check that.
Oh gosh,
I
here we
thought it was a
go.
little loud.
Like a very small thing, and we just like guitar. And it's only like maybe. I want to make sure my compressors are working. And then we
Sounds really great. To be perfectly honest.
Wait, I want to see.
The last part at least, like Bennettarium. It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe.
We're so impressed with ourselves. Well, thanks, David, for setting this up. Last week, David, out of the blue, was like, I want to make a podcast. I'm like, cool, so do I.
So I ran it by Bunny, and this is what we came up with.
We've always wanted to do something, but I think we're always felt kind of tethered, at least I did, to having to make it about Steam Powered Giraffe or utilizing the robot characters, and that just seems like a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of writing and stuff, and we were like...
yeah. I mean, that would be an interesting podcast, but we don't have time to do something like Welcome to Night Vale, right? Something like that. Where it's basically the spine, and like it's like a... I mean, it writes itself, like, well, welcome to the Steam Powered Giraffe podcast. My
I got
name's the
here
Spine.
very late. Here I am.
Here's our first guest, Walter Worker Chelsea.
Do I need to wipe my shoes before I come into your place, Spine? Your room's actually pretty
But this
dirty
is what
already.
we don't want to do.
This is what we don't want to do. As entertaining as it is.
I mean...
No better way to kick off the first podcast.
Well,
with what
maybe
you don't wanna do.
the way I see it is that if we get comfortable enough with this and we like it, we can start doing stuff like that, maybe.
Well, you're right. I mean, you look at other podcasts and
don't
you know,
give yourself any
they like play
restraints.
Dungeons and Dragons,
Yes.
you know, stuff like that.
We'll come up with different wacky characters just because, you know, it's all audio. People are listening to this on their drive to work. So we can come up with wacky characters like, I'm wacky character number 3.
You're gonna hear some snaps as I move my microphone around. I haven't quite found the right place for it yet. That might be good.
Keep an ear out for the door. Wait,
Oh yeah,
that
we got food being delivered.
Don't look at the camera.
I already ate. I had a salad, but not
Don't look at the camera.
Don't look at the camera.
but not just any salad. It had chicken in it, so it's kind of chicken salad.
But yeah, so we wanted to make a very loosey-goose podcast where basically it's more conversational, where we're sitting across the table talking to each other.
I think the three of us together, or whoever the third guest is on the show, we're gonna have plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah. So, because all of our other stuff like SPG Hour, which was like the YouTube thing we did like with Sam every month or two, we did that with like a Q&A stream. It was all very presentational, us in front of a camera, directing the audience directly. Whereas this is more like how podcasts are. Where they're more like, it's the people in the room that are talking to each other, and then the viewer is like a fly on the wall.
Right. I think it's better. I think we do enough of the whole fake character acting that we shouldn't do that as people. We should just be ourselves. So hopefully this is the start of something good to connect with our fan base and have some fun and
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes. We planned it so quickly that we don't have a theme song. But to be fair, we have tons of music. So pick one of those songs as a theme song.
By episode 105, you guys will be sick of the theme song.
But yeah, but to be fair, I think that one I just came off the spot was pretty darn good. If I say so myself.
It's not bad.
Okay, well.
It's not bad.
Yeah. What else don't we have? We don't have structure. We knew we wanted to talk about Steam Powered Giraffe stuff.
We actually started having conversations in the hour that we were supposed to go on, and we're like, hold on, let's save this for the podcast.
I just started gushing about VR and then
we actually have
Steam Powered Giraffe stuff, and I'm like, wait, I gotta save this energy for streaming.
Yeah.
It's true.
Sorry,
It's true.
I
You
keep
gotta.
drumming.
I mean, drumming's cool. Drumming's good.
I wonder how that's
It's
help.
it's that nervous coffee energy.
Is that like hurting the stream? Is it like? Yeah.
We're gonna check this every 5 minutes.
We don't have an audio engineer.
We need someone like over there, like in a headphones going.
That's a boring job. We can do it ourselves. It's the first episode. There's bound to be hiccups, right?
Who wants to work at SPG Studios for free? We'll pay you in codes. And...
No, I can barely hear the drumming. We're good. Drum away.
Cool.
So I was gonna say, like, you guys say pretend that we haven't seen each other in a while, but I actually haven't seen you guys for a while. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't talk too much. I mean, business-wise, sure, but yeah. So I mean, I don't even know who you guys are, to be honest. Like,
I know.
you're
I'm
like
a
you're in whiteface all
mystery.
the time. And this guy is like very shiny.
Well, I'm sure anyone who's watching this podcast kind of knows what whoever.
Yeah, are
right?
you gonna like introduce yourselves before every podcast? Because most people do.
Do they?
Yeah,
No.
I mean, listen to Star Talk. They still introduce themselves every single episode.
No, that's
I don't know if
true.
that's something you want to do. But I
I
think
mean, I
everyone
guess.
listening or watching right now knows who
Especially
you
who
guys
have the
are
video.
at least. Maybe not
I didn't
me.
restart recording the video. No one reminded me.
What?
I did. That was like the first thing I said.
Yeah, none of that was recorded.
None of that?
Only the audio.
Well, we'll just
Now
have
the
to
video
black
is
it out.
recording.
Oh my.
There's too many things to think about.
Okay.
That's right.
I recorded the audio.
I did remind him, but oh, well.
Okay. So
So are the people listening to the podcast later gonna get all that too?
Just no images.
No, this is where it'll start. If they're watching the video, this is where it's gonna start.
Okay.
So hello, viewers who just missed everything else. You'll have to
Oh my god.
You'll have to. You'll have to listen to the audio podcast to catch the first 5-10 minutes.
Sorry, guys. This is all new. We got to have some hiccups.
Well,
to-
see, I pressed the start streaming button, but I don't want to hit the start recording because then the whole stream it'll be recording all that like idling logo thing for like a good
Wait,
half
did
an
they
hour.
hear us with the idol logo on, or they didn't hear anything?
So basically, there's three things that we're doing here. I'm recording the audio separately, and I'm streaming to our Engineer-eteers site, and I'm also recording the video and audio together of the stream. So the stream goes out into the internet and disappears because it's a live stream. The recorded version of the video and audio is what we're saving to put up on the Engineer-eteer later, and it's supposed to be the same as what we're streaming.
Okay.
And the audio is the higher quality, just the audio, and that goes up on all the podcast networks and stuff through our RSS feed. But I hit start streaming, I hit record for the audio, but I didn't hit start recording. So the video wasn't recording. So now the archive of the stream missed the first 10 minutes of the stream.
Yay.
all right. Well, we
Let's see.
can start over. We'll start fresh. Let's do that theme song.
It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe. It's a Bennettarium.
Bennettarium.
Okay, that's kind of like Benny and the Jets.
I mean, we're trying. At least we got something. And
Bennettarium.
then here's me shuffling papers. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Bennettarium.
Episode
The Bennettarium.
1.
Episode 1.
Episode
I'm
one.
David Michael Bennett.
I'm Isabella Bunny Bennett.
I play the Spine
I play Rabbit.
in the group Steam Powered Giraffe. And over here,
I'm guest today, Chelsea Penyak. I play a Walter worker with Steam Powered Giraffe. I handle merchandise. I perform on stage. I'm a dancer. Yeah.
We got the primo guests here on our podcast. We're starting off with people we already know.
Whoever was just already here working.
Maybe some people are wondering, like, why isn't it like the 3 robot actors like in every episode? It's because commitment-wise, David and I are just a little more available.
Well, yeah, we're going to have Sam and Steve and probably both Penyaks at one point.
Of course,
Yes.
It's definitely.
If we can figure out how to fit another person, and probably.
The hair will be a problem.
Well, we could push it this
I
way and
think
then put
we
a chair
might
there.
all fit in the frame with our
know.
hair down.
Oh no! If I push it this way and then put a chair there, right? That would work.
The Penyaks, if you're not watching the video, have this crazy hair. Like, I can't describe
Oh, we're
it.
already on the right
know.
sides. We're already on the right. Let's just do the. We can actually do the logo right here. So what was I? What am I? Am I?
What, we're
Wait.
supposed to. Okay, are we just gonna hold
I don't
this?
remember mine. I have like
your
this,
tongue's like a snake,
I can't move it.
and you're
like
afraid.
that.
I thought we were gonna take a picture. For
Yeah, we'll
Instagram.
take it.
We're just-
Well, there you go.
Someone's gonna
Oh
screen.
shoot!
Whoops. It's already falling apart. Don't
Microphones.
drop your mic.
There we go.
Someone's gonna screen cap that. It's already on Tumblr.
Yeah.
I see there's about 8 people watching.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I mean, it seems like it's working for us, but maybe not.
I thought we had like 30 people at
Well,
one
we
time.
did, but it took about an hour for us to get started. So.
Well, I guess that's showbiz for you.
Wow. It'll pick up. I mean, have you ever tuned in to a brand new podcast? All the podcasts I know and love, I heard about from word of mouth. And by the time I get into them, there's like years worth of archives I could go back into.
That's true. We're just starting out, and we already got a following to kind of give us a little boost. So
Yeah.
that's a benefit.
Let me see what's going on here.
I can't log into our Twitter because too many people tried to log into it. So we couldn't announce any of this.
So,
I put it on the official SPG Twitter.
I should reblog that right now.
have fun listening to us, reblogging and tweaking.
Well,
we don't
Okay,
have to do
so
this is what happens when you do homegrown stuff, is that you have to do everything, so.
Well, I think it's already been established that we don't want a structure in the podcast, but we started getting really excitedly into VR discussions before we started streaming. That would probably be a good first topic.
I had just got my PSVR. I held off on the Vive and the Oculus. I went with the PlayStation 1 because I figured it was more affordable. It made use of my PS4, which I don't use very much. And yeah, still kind of pricey, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like, raring to get one. It's how much right now? 400?
is it 400?
$399?
It's actually a pretty good deal
Excuse
if you
me.
get the bundle that comes with the new camera and the Move
I've-
controllers in the game. So that's,
I've obviously tried David's, and it's definitely out of the 3 the most comfortable one, because I have been able to put every single one on my face, and the other ones just get really uncomfortable after a while.
they do. I really like the Halo headband. It's so comfortable.
Yeah, it makes it so easy to use if you have to wear glasses. Just like,
Yeah, I have some gripes with it, but to be honest, it is the most comfortable out of all of them.
I was like super shocked when I put it on. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it to be that. I don't know. They did really good design work on it.
Yeah, it's nice.
And
Nice cheap entry.
And it looks nice too. It looks like an Apple
does.
product.
It
It looks
looks
so
nice.
futuristic.
It's really cool.
I
I had tried the Gear VR for my phone,
yes.
which was great, but it only has like motion on the positional on the phone. There's no way that you can actually lean forward and have that do anything. So that was my. Well, I had tried it out on David's VR systems, but that was the first time on the PS that I got to lean forward, and it just blew my mind, like.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're there. It feels like
Yeah.
you're there. And I know that's like a stupid thing
I
to say,
think
but
that's really important with VR. That really sells it, because like you can sit or stand in one spot and kind of turn your head and be like, whoa. But the minute you lean forward and realize, like the underwater ones, the shark encounter, there's like a fish swimming in front of you, and I can actually step forward and get closer to it and like pat it. It's like, oh, now it seems. I think that's why the Vive worked so well for me, because that's the one where it's like, you got the cameras in the room and you can actually walk
Yeah.
around in in a space. You don't have to be like sitting or just standing in one spot.
That one's definitely.
That's why I think that's why the Vive is almost the most impressive to me right now. Because they've got the tech demo with like the robot dog and stuff, and I can like walk around and pick up a stick and throw it for the dog and like walk over to him, and yeah,
It feels great.
I think the forward and backwards and side to side, 3-dimensional whatever movement is what really sells it, instead of just looking up and down and around you.
Definitely. You done playing Flappy Bird?
Posted it on my Twitter, Steam Powered Giraffes, which I didn't. It just said I just saw a technical difficulty thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you posted there. But I posted on Steam Powered Giraffes and the Bennettarium Twitter. So now maybe people are aware that it's happening. Speaking of VR, I have all 3 devices. I have the first one I got was the Oculus DK2, which is developer edition, the second version of it, which I was blown away with. I played that at least 2 years ago. So I've been in VR for a long time.
You're a
Some might call me a veteran.
Some would. I
Some
would.
would.
But
And then I got the Oculus, the new one. They call it the CV1, I believe, the consumer version. And then I got the HTC Vive around the same time. They pretty much delivered at the door at the same time. And then I got the PlayStation VR that just came out last week. And out of all 3, the PlayStation VR is definitely my favorite. It's the most comfortable. It's the easiest to wear glasses with, and it just works. Like, you can unplug it, you can turn it off in the middle of a game, plug it back in, and it works immediately. There's still some weird technical hiccups with it. I'm sure they'll iron out.
As far as comfort goes, that's the best one.
it's amazing.
It
feels so good.
The Oculus is very lightweight, like the lightest one out of all of them, and its image quality looks amazing, but I never quite feel like I have it on my face correctly.
Yeah.
I'm fidgeting constantly with almost all of them. Even the PSVR, I haven't really.
It's a little bit difficult. We've all tried David's systems. That's how we have experience. I had to say, like, the HTC Vive was my preference out of the Oculus, but it was quite heavy.
That one, the Oculus, I could never figure out how to wear glasses with it. It just hurt no matter what I got. I had, literally took glasses, removed the legs, or what do they call them on glasses? The stems.
The stems.
The ear dealies.
Yes.
And I just put the lenses in there, and that kind of worked. They have some prescription lenses, but they just don't stay in either. And so that was always a pain in the butt. And the Vive, it's easy to wear glasses with, but I got some custom lenses for those. For that one made. I would say the tracking is for the headset as well as the HTC Vive controllers are it's the best. Like the PlayStation Move ones it's garbage.
So they kind of like
they kind of shake. But it is just tracking with light. I mean, it's a completely different system. I'm sure the Oculus Touch, when that launches in December or November, I can't remember when, will be just as good. So the PlayStation VR it's only held back by the displays are slightly lower resolution than the HTC Vive and the Oculus, and the PlayStation 4 is a little underpowered to be able to deliver the same graphic finesse. Like even though it's 90 frames per second, like when you turn your head, some of the actual action on screen will dip lower than that. But because no matter where you look, it's always 90 frames per second. There's some crazy stuff going on there. Time warp maybe. I don't know how they do it in VR.
So I don't know if you guys have the same problem. So typically, like the Vive and the Oculus, pretty great resolution. There's always in VR. There's always that kind of I'm kind of looking through a screen or a screen door, just a little bit.
Yeah, a screen door effect, which is you can basically see the pixels of the screen.
With the PSVR, it's not too bad. It's blurry, like no matter what I do.
Yeah, me too.
So the difference between the Oculus, the Vive, and the PlayStation VR is the Oculus and the HTC Vive use Fresnel lenses, which it's almost like I don't know the process of how they make them or anything. I might be pronouncing the name wrong, but there are concentric circles almost in the lenses, and when you look through them, you kind of see that. However, the PlayStation VR doesn't use those lenses, and it looks significantly better because of it. Except it's a little more blurry on the edges. So I believe the manufacturers are all these companies are trying to find the best place. So the Fresnel lenses do something good, but they produce a lot of God rays. Basically, like if you have a black screen and you have a bright light in the middle, you can literally see giant, like almost like sun rays projecting out from them, and that's just because of the lenses that the Oculus and the Vive use. However, the PlayStation VR doesn't have that issue because it's using a different type of lens. But yeah, it's a little bit blurry. For the PlayStation VR, you can't actually do a manual adjustment of your IPD, which is your pupil distance.
Yeah.
With the Vive and the Oculus, you can do it like on the fly. The Vive has a little thing you can turn and it pops up with a little number. Same with the Oculus, you can go into a menu and you can adjust it. And if you know your IPD, if you have glasses, like mine's 66, you can just pop it in. The PlayStation VR though, you have to do it automatically with their thing, and you kind of have to cheat it to get to the IPD that's yours. And yours is probably 66 too because we're twins.
I've tried a different ones. It's everything's just blurry. It's slightly blurry. There's not it's not very.
So I mean the main problem.
I tried to adjust it as good as I could get it, but it's still.
Yeah.
The sharpest it can get is still blurry.
I think they really need a manual adjustment.
I think they'll probably. I mean, they probably will.
Personally, I mean, I've tried all three now, and if I were to get one, I don't have enough interest or the money to get one right now. But if I were to get one, I would go with the Vive, at least right now. But a lot of my decision has to do with the motion sickness, like I was saying before. I don't get any motion sickness when I'm using the Vive.
Because a lot of the games are built to be where you're not moving at all.
It's not moving. Yeah. Like I've tried Elite in Oculus.
Elite Dangerous, spaceship.
Elite Dangerous. Anything. Oh, what was the one? The American Truck Simulator.
American Truck Simulator.
Yeah, that one really did me in. Like I was fine. I was like I was holding the steering wheel and I pressed the gas and I was moving and I was okay. I was like, yeah, I'm driving. And then I got to a stop sign, and when I stopped the truck, my stomach lurched out of my body. I felt so sick. I actually had to run to the bathroom really quickly.
There's so much talk
I was really scared. Yeah, and it freaked me out. I felt terrible for an hour, and I was only in it for 5 minutes. Any sort of movement when they have you moving and your body can tell you're not actually moving.
Because your body freaks out a little. It's the same thing with motions. When you're in a boat, you're getting seasick and stuff. It's that. Well, it's kind of the opposite thing. It's kind of like your body can't see that you're moving, but you're moving. This is the opposite where your body you can see you're moving, but you're not moving. So your body, it's weird. It's
really frustrating because it's I want to try out all these games, but depending on what I'm playing, some of the demos I can't even make it 30 seconds into.
Right. The one game that I had the most problem with was
get hot flashes.
Yeah, Tomb Raider. Though it's the one that comes paired with the new 20th anniversary edition, which is great. I love that game. But
PlayStation VR, right?
Yeah, it's just one level. You don't have to play it in VR, but if you do, they make you teleport around, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. If you turn all that off, even if you adjust it and make it really slow, it makes you sick. It's just because it's too sudden of a turn, as opposed to where you're inside a tank in Battle Zone, I think it's called, and then there's this one called something Scavenger on the PlayStation World disc. You kind of have your field of view is kind of pushed back, and you turn kind of as if you're in a tank, so it's not as nauseating.
But also, the reason why you don't get as nauseated with stuff like that is you see a cockpit in those ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our bodies are naturally already used to being in a car and stuff. Yeah. So when you see a little bit of that, and that's a great way to prevent motion sickness, is basically give the user a frame of reference for what is that they're staying put, but this whole thing is apparently moving. Mm. But what they say about motion sickness is not to try and fight it. If you start feeling sick, take it off immediately, because it's not going to get any better. Your body is just going to get more and more sick from it. Basically, it's just play until you feel it, take it off, and then come back to it a day later. And eventually your body will get used to it. And the first time I played Elite Dangerous with joysticks, because I bought all these things, and I've been playing with the DK2 for 2 years. I have the joysticks and the VR helmet thing, and I got sick the first few times, but then after, a while, it was this is easy. I'm dog fighting and stuff, but those are a little easier to navigate. It's the ones that are here's a first-person shooter, and you can move around. I have this one for Oculus I think it's called Jetpack Joyride or something, and you're literally just using an Xbox controller to fly around, and you can turn your head, but you have to turn your jetpack with the controller and stuff, and after about 20 minutes, I'm pretty seasick feeling. And it's cool because like, I'm jetpacking around this world, but I think games like that are just they're going to make you feel a little queasy after a while because it's usually when you're doing something like you're moving this way and you're moving your head like tracking something like your body just
even watching you like you have it up on your TV screen and I'm watching you in VR moving your head around, even that makes me motion sick because you're moving your head so fast. It's weird, watching someone's first person, like looking through your eyeballs, like you can do it and not feel
really
sick,
tough to
but when you're watching someone dart around constantly, you start to get sick.
The first day that I did the PSVR, I was getting sick. The next day I did the Batman game, which is amazing. Like I know it's just like it's not very long, but
disassociation, right?
My body forgot where it was. Like I got so used to using it that when Killer Croc, is introduced, it was terrifying. My body just kind of locked up, and I closed my eyes, and I was like, I can't. And then I just could not complete the game. I was shaking, and then I was looking at my hands and thinking like, holy crap, like. I was getting used to using these controllers as my hands.
I had the same issue when I first put on the Vive. Basically, after I played Job Simulator for a good hour, and I just went through everything, because it was great. It was like, I'm making food and doing all this, but it basically makes you feel like, these aren't my hands. My hands are over here.
Yeah, I didn't get nauseous. It was I had a great time. I was in the world. It felt like I was Batman, and it was...
I am really puzzled by the way I'm not freaked out by giant things coming at me in VR.
Oh my God.
Because, like,
Killer
I have
Croc.
so much...
Yeah, we haven't seen Killer Croc.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Like, I didn't know he was coming out because then you kind of know he's going to come out eventually after that. Spoilers, by the way. Killer Croc's in Arkham VR.
I have so many problems with the motion sickness, and then, like, I watch other people play VR, like the dinosaur encounter or the shark encounter, and they, like, freak out when they see this big thing coming at them, but for some reason, that doesn't bother me at all.
I wasn't like, I'm not scared.
Yeah,
it's more like,
I can,
holy
like, try to reach
like,
out for the shark. I'm like, I
I
want
don't
to
know.
pet him. And
It's Killer Croc I'm scared of because...
They kind of build you up to it,
I'll try not to do any
right?
spoilers, but there is a way to unlock in Arkham VR where you can view models of all the characters. I had Chelsea read me a guide as in VR to try and collect all the Riddler
unlocked
trophies.
everything.
And you can view these models like in Batman's database, and it's like, which is kind of weird because he has you can see his parents, and he's like. and if you put one of the tapes in to do an animation, his mom opens his arms to hug him, and you're like, "Whoa, Bruce Wayne has his parents on these holograms just so he can hug his dead parents." It's kind of weird. But anyway, you can do Killer Croc, and if you think he's scary in the game, imagine when he's like, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't even look at him like, okay, change the
Even
character.
the
thing,
static
like-
T-Rex in the Batcave is kind of unnerving, like just slightly.
That's what like I don't get. I'm like
But
I
you
don't
know
know why
what?
I'm not because I did the shark encounter and it's like it was ripping the cage apart and its head is like reaching for.
I couldn't do that.
And you were like, "Aren't
play
you
it all the way
scared?"
through?
And I was like, "No." I was like sticking my hand in
I
its
was
mouth.
like, shark encounter, and then I was like, wait, I'm in a cage, and I'm like, nope, not even gonna try this. No, I know it's
loved
It's
gonna
tastefully
it.
done. There's no like jump scares.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of funny at the end because he's like biting the oxygen thing, and it looks kind of after a while it's kind of like, oh, poor shark.
But yeah, you're like, "Aren't you scared?" And I was like, "No."
Because it does this thing where the whole cage like rips off, and then you're like,
Yeah.
"There's nothing stopping him from getting me now." And then he swims around you, and then just at the last moment he goes up, and then they pull the cage.
So
up.
cute.
It's
He's so cute.
But it's not. But I imagine the horror games are actually banking on that. Oh my
I won't
gosh.
do any horror VR.
Oh, yeah.
Anything with a jump scare.
If you
I
like
will
that
not
rush
do
of
it.
adrenaline, like VR is for you. Like it is pretty
I'll-
intense.
I-
I'd have a heart attack. I would imagine.
I mean, I was listening to a gaming podcast where they, went to some convention and they were doing VR demos, and they were talking about one horror game where it's like you're sitting in a chair, and it ends with someone like slitting your throat or something. I was like, I would never
I'm
be
pretty
able
sure
to do
there's a
something
demo
like
on the
that.
demo disc. I'm not sure though.
Like, I guess there's some horror fans
the
out there
PS
who would enjoy
demo
that,
disc.
but that's too much for
Too
me.
much, yeah.
The London heist was actually really good. There was a little bit of fear, but it was the driving.
That was the coolest level.
That was amazing. You could like
cartoony
poke your head out the window and like shoot.
It's
with
a very
your
short
gun.
game, and that one does feel like a tech demo.
Yes.
But and the mission before that one's really tough because you have to get behind a desk. But I like the driving one because it was like, oh, I have to.
It felt good, and
Especially when
the
it goes slow
cigar.
motion.
When you're like, I wonder if I can puff this, and it actually registers your
For the
Yeah.
microphone.
microphone. It's like,
pretty
oh
cool.
my god.
And then we talk, yeah, that's pretty cool.
But so much of these are like the initial feelings when you first get into VR. You get these great tech demos that scare you or thrill you, or but is VR going to be more than just kind of a novelty? Because that does wear off, I think.
Food's coming.
Munchery? Munchery's coming.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, you might have that disassociation if you spend 6 hours in VR when you first get it,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's because your body's just like, this is my new life now. It's one of those things. I think it has something to do with just how the brain works. If someone's vision gets flipped, they did a test where he wore something that flipped his vision upside down, and after like a few months, it was just normal, and it was like he saw normally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then, it's just, the brain will just adapt to whatever. But you know what? But after about 2 years of using VR, those first initial things of like, where are my hands? And that's only because of the controllers. I didn't have the controllers with like DK2 and all the developer in progress ones. But it doesn't stay. It goes away because your body's like, oh, this isn't real. And now when I put on a headset, it's tough for me to be immersed some of the times just because I'm so used to it.
We'll probably, if VR becomes more mainstream, we're gonna get desensitized.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can already feel it after like 2 years of. I mean, these resolution displays are way better than the developer ones, but they're still pretty crappy. And you're looking at the PlayStation VR is the only one that has the lowest one, but the HTC Vive and the Oculus have 1080p screens, which are lower than this. You know?
Yeah.
And that's right up to your eye. That's why you can see the pixels. However, and I might be saying some technical information wrong, but I'm pretty sure everything's pretty close to being accurate from any knowledge I have. But the main issue is that you have to render 2 of these 1080p screens at the same time, and you have to do it in at least 75 frames a second, which is what the Oculus and Vive do, if I'm not mistaken. The PlayStation VR goes up to 90 frames a second, but once, like, if you look at the London Heist, there are some choppy when they're like their fight scene that slowed down a little. But because your head is still moving at 90 frames a second, it doesn't matter if the actual on-screen stuff. All the headsets do that. Like in Elite, if there's too much stuff going on screen, your head moving around will be super smooth, but the action will kind of jitter a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's like a thing they put in there to basically make it so no one throws it up.
So far, my favorite experiences in VR have been the plotless games. Like, I really enjoyed. I just like the simple stuff. Like, I had a lot of fun with Audio Shield on the Vive.
Yeah. That's where you punch the beats.
Yeah, you punch the beats of the music, and
music.
you can use your music library.
Or use YouTube now. They just have nothing.
Yeah, because I like Rock Band and that kind of stuff, like rhythm games. Another rhythm game I really liked. We did the demo for Thumper on
Thumper.
PS4, and that one was really great.
You're like a little scarab beetle.
You're like this little metal scarab
on a Hot Wheels track.
In that one, you're moving really fast through space, but I didn't get motion sickness from that one because I assume it's because I'm on a rail. I can see where I'm going,
it's a Hot Wheels
and
track with
the background isn't like trees moving past
It
you.
was well
You're
done.
like
I
in
thought-
space, and the background's kind of
Those
static,
kind
like
of games, I'm
nebulas
like,
and
I don't
stuff.
care about this. But then I played
was
it. Like, as you look at it on the screen, you're like, what's so great about this? And then you put it on, you're like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
it's like I don't know. It definitely give it a try.
Yeah. Well,
But like so far, those have been my favorite VR experiences. The really simple ones that just I don't know make me realize how big the universe is around me when I'm in the VR. What have been your guys' favorite games or demos?
the scavenger one was really like the one that kind of cemented that. This is great.
The one where you're
I don't
where you're an alien
do
in a
that
spider
one.
mech.
Yeah.
I
It's,
didn't do that
it's
one.
It's on the PlayStation Worlds disc, or you can download it.
You know what that reminds me of playing Elite.
Yeah,
a
it feels
degree.
great.
I haven't done Eve Valkyrie yet because it's like $60.
That's another thing. Like a lot of
the games are overpriced.
you can get like a bunch of games on the Vive for super cheap.
But there's a lot of developers on the Vive, and there's incentive for them to make the game. So there are a lot of garbage games on the Vive too.
That's true.
And to be fair, after having done all the launches of Oculus when it launched, had basically nothing. Like, it had a few games, and I pretty much used it just to play Elite because that had VR support already. When the Vive launched, once again, it had nothing. It had pretty much nothing. The PlayStation launch is the only one that actually has games to play.
It's true. Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to say that there's no good games on the Vive, but a lot of the games are arcadey. Like, here's Fruit Ninja VR. I'm like, well, I love Fruit Ninja, and I love slicing things up, and that's fun. But it's all very that's the end of the game. It's a lot of party games. It's like arcadey.
So far, where we are right now with VR, though, unfortunately, those types of games have been my best experiences because of the motion sickness. Anything simple where I can just stand there and shoot or slice fruit.
I mean, interacting is the best kind of thing. That's why the Vive did so much
I want
better
to
than the
play
Oculus,
until we fix the motion sickness issue with me.
I didn't get sick
That's
with
what I like.
World War Tunes.
Yeah, which was weird, right?
Yeah.
Because that one's a first-person shooter.
Maybe
where
it
you
has
can,
something to do
Did
with.
you change the control string to dual twin sticks?
I don't know if I did, but I tried out the it kind of does this thing where it turns your head more, and that actually kind of works a little bit because it kind of.
Is it just because it's more cartoonish, maybe?
I don't know.
Maybe
I
the
think
more
it's
What about
realistic-
Batman? Because Batman, when you're traveling through places, like it kind of zooms.
Yeah, that felt great. Like it doesn't.
So I think some developers just figured out it, and I think eventually down the road they're just gonna. I think
You
people
were
will just know.
telling me about something that I think was in development, like things you put in your ears to help with the
Yeah.
equilibrium.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's who knows what.
We
what
kind of
people
like
come up
VR,
with.
huh? We're talking about it a lot.
Well, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, people. It's all this came out in the last year, and it's been in development for a while, but.
I guess the real question is it going to stick around? Is it just going to be these tech demos and that's it, or are we going to get some quality content?
Well,
that's
looking at like all the Reddit and stuff
I
for
think
PSVR.
that depends on how hard like Sony pushes it.
I think Sony is basically the
Are
one
they
helping
really
VR
going
now.
to invest in it?
I mean,
Yeah.
they already have, but the reaction from users and people who get it it's just the same as like the niche people who got the Vive and the
Yeah.
Oculus. So now the PlayStation VR
It's
is the cheapest one if you already have a PlayStation.
yeah, and I know
And-
it's been said to death, but it's a really hard thing to describe to someone who hasn't
Oh,
actually tried
it's-
it. Like
you can't
Camille
sell it. No selling
has
points.
absolutely zero interest in it. She's tried some demos in the Oculus and
But-
stuff,
and that was
but
DK too.
she hasn't experienced it yet, so she has no interest.
I
How
mean,
do you market it
This
to
is
people
how you market it. When
with
Steve got his
commercials?
Vive, he had Sam and Curly try his Vive out, and they were like, and the next day they went and bought their own.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how you.
They-
That's how
they
you do
have-
it.
You can't watch a commercial
They have
for
demos
it
in the stores. You can go to Best Buy and
be
try that
interested.
stuff.
It's the only way. So basically, if you want to try VR, find Best Buys and stuff are gonna have
Yeah.
PlayStation VRs. I know some places have Vive and Oculus too. So
Yeah, I think the PlayStation VR. It's really exciting that a cheaper one came out, and it's so good. Like it is probably the
gonna
best one
take
because it's
this
so
off.
cheap.
I'm gonna go get
oh
food.
yeah, we have food coming.
It's coming. I'm gonna take this off.
Texted us.
Ah, get off.
No, I mean I would say, the Vive. It's not super user friendly. I think the PlayStation VR is super user friendly, and that's why it's gonna work.
Why can't I get this off?
It's a clip.
I know.
I mean, I think I'd prefer the.
Stuck.
I'd normally prefer the Vive, but it's kind of in a experimental phase right now. You kind of look at the PlayStation Store, and it's like the games that kind of get there are pretty polished. Like
Oh yeah, no, that's another thing is you look at the Vive games and they don't feel as polished as the PlayStation
Right.
VR.
and there's a little bit of quality control, but PlayStation does a lot of indie stuff too, so
Yeah.
it's great. You know, you're gonna get some quality developers, and then you're also gonna get some indie games that are gonna rock. So
Yeah, I had, and the other thing is some of the games that already have like VR support added to them. Like this one has additional VR support, like Tomb Raider, which I don't have Tomb Raider on PS4. I have it on PC, but I had cat lateral damage, and that one they just have VR support for free that you get.
I tried that one. I didn't like that you had to teleport around.
I mean that's just like the Vive.
Yeah.
I mean unfortunately that's just how, because the Vive how could you move with the Vive? I don't know if anyone's done that yet, but
Can't wait to eat.
but yeah, so and that one was also kind of difficult with pause and the PlayStation
Yes.
VR because you really have to be standing and have a bunch of
Right.
room. But yeah, I use actually this space for Vive, but I use my bed for PlayStation VR and I use my pilot cockpit for Oculus. So
I started in the bedroom and I was like, this can't do this. I have to stand for some of these games,
Yeah.
and so I put it out in my living room, which I got a ton of open space in there, and I was like, okay, my PlayStation's staying out here now. Yeah. Oh, for those who don't know, Cat Lateral Damage, you can download it for pretty cheap on Steam without the VR. It's
pretty good game too. Did you have it before?
Yeah.
Before
and I bought it I got it for free. I think it was cheap. It was
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cheap right now on the PlayStation Store. But it's basically about cats knocking stuff down. You are a cat in first person, and you just use your paws to knock over as many things as
And
you
that's
can.
the game. And the music's like ridiculously
Cute.
earwormy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a VR version. It's kind of similar. It's a different mode, but yeah, that one isn't one I'll probably come back to just because
Yeah.
it was kind of difficult to actually knock things off in VR unless you had like enough room.
You know what was great? I love that. I keep coming back to that Spider-Man game, Cosmic Scavenger, I think it's called. You had that jump ability, but it actually took you through the jump,
That was a great way to do
and
it.
you could walk around, and it felt so.
Well, I'd
good.
say try Elite Dangerous, but I think the closest thing that you'll get to it is Eve Valkyrie.
Is that any good? It's so expensive.
I don't know.
can't drop
I
the
wouldn't
money.
say that it's $50 worth or $60 or whatever
Yeah,
they're trying to charge
it's
for it.
so expensive.
But I played it on Oculus, and it was a launch title. You got it for free, but it was in beta back then, and it has a lot of microtransactions. and it doesn't feel $60 because the campaign is only like 5 levels long, which it's a cool campaign, but it's really short. But it's mostly a multiplayer game. But you can play co-op against AI. So
I guess I'll probably wait. It seems
if they have
really
a demo
cool.
for it, it seems like they should have a demo for some of these games. They have a lot.
No, they do have I did play a demo on Valkyrie. Yeah.
They did?
The PlayStation demo, it's just something you can download from the shop. And it has like all these games.
Did they have Did you play Valkyrie
Yeah,
there?
there's a demo.
Yeah.
There's a demo for Battlezone too. Which
How was that? Battlezone was pretty fun, but how was Valkyrie?
It felt like, yeah, it wasn't bad. It was very short, but it felt, kind of similar to Elite Dangerous. I mean, obviously much easier.
Yeah, there's no 6 degrees of motion.
Battlezone, I'm so intrigued by it because it's like a retro game that they, that was groundbreaking and kind of gimmicky when it came out.
Yeah.
But now they're kind of reintroducing it in the VR era, and it plays really well, and like shooting feels really good, and moving feels excellent. But it's so expensive once again.
It's another $60 game.
Have you bought it?
I did.
Is it good? Is it worth
With
it?
hopes that you would get it and we could play co-op because you can play 4-player co-op through the
so
campaign.
expensive. But is it?
I mean,
Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is there enough campaign?
How
and
much?
Stuff?
$50. That's for
many-
you. That would be like 10 people buying one of our CDs.
10 people.
10, 20. It depends. How
See,
many?
that's the problem I
Depends
have.
on which CD.
Getting into the PlayStation stuff is hard because you don't have a lot of content to choose from without dropping even more money. So
you get it quite a bit just from
the
getting
Worlds
it.
is great. The Worlds is great
Yeah.
because it comes with enough content that'll last you hours upon hours.
But the problem with VR is you're not going to be happy with just one game.
Oh, the Playroom. The Playroom's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, we played that.
That one's cute. And
That one's free though, right?
It is free.
Yeah.
It was
so that's good.
okay. There wasn't much to
Nah.
it.
I was wondering, like, I only had one person, so
Oh, yeah,
how
we
did
played- we
how
played a
is
little
co-op
bit of
stuff
it.
any good?
We did it's serviceable.
It's like if you have a bunch of friends over, it's something
It's
fun to put on
funny
for a few
like,
minutes.
Yeah, I would say like an hour max.
But
and
there's
everyone
only
get
like
bored.
5 games in it, and they only last like 5 minutes each.
It's
You know
like
what?
so the one
Yeah.
where, I was like a cat and Chelsea was a mouse. So basically, the person with the VR headset is something, and they control. Like when I was a cat, I just had the headset and I handed a controller to everyone else, and
then-
they actually look at the TV screen.
I have a
and-
controller and I'm watching the screen, and like that one was stupid because he just kept catching me.
Because
right
there's
away.
only one. You need more people.
It's like
yeah.
a party game. Like you have to like hide under I was like hiding under broccoli, and I had to
Yeah.
like move
Steal the
around while
cheese.
you
But
couldn't see me.
But like, I, if I move my head forward, these curtains would go, and then I could look, and and all I had to do was look at them, and then like my paws would automatically grab them.
To try it out.
yeah, if
But-
you have like 4 people.
Yeah, it would be
playing,
hard. It would be hard. But with one person,
It'd
it was
be
like,
like- Your goal is
That's
to
pretty
like
much it.
steal the cheese, but since there was only one of me, you just kept catching me right away. If there were like 5 people
Yeah.
playing, it'd be a lot more chaotic. And
It's
It's,
nice.
it's a
game
cool
'cause
concept though.
It's very safe because it's not scary. The robots
Yeah.
are pretty
Yeah.
adorable. And what I liked is I played the platforming one, which is like the only single player game.
yeah, that's like Lucky's Tale. That's what it reminds me of.
It's cool because you as you move, you're a third person, which feels really cool. But as you go through like these leaves and stuff, that kind of goes around you, and like you
Yeah.
actually pass through them as if you're passing through leaves.
They have a lot of
pretty
games like
great,
that on
pretty
Oculus. Like they have an Adventure Time game that's exactly like that.
So VR doesn't
I'm not a fan
necessarily.
of those kind of games.
I guess yeah, but they're not nauseating. Like
You're
I
right,
don't
you're
get
right.
Yeah.
nauseous.
To me it feels like, well, this is a game that would be mediocre if it wasn't in VR, and I don't like that.
It's true. It is true.
Because
yeah.
it's just a platformer, and I'm like, okay, it is cool though. It's a great way to experience a game. Like, oh,
It
you
definitely
see your
gives-
character move around, and
The biggest thing with VR, like, it just gives you size. And yeah, some of those games
Yeah.
can feel like they're tiny. That's just how they make them, but they can make them feel like.
Well, did you play the demo for Wayward Sky or whatever it was?
No.
So that one, they have the platforming mechanic, but then like when they'll get the little character you're controlling will get to a specific spot, and it'll zoom in, and suddenly you're in their perspective.
Oh, that's cool.
But see, I don't like the whole diorama view because it doesn't feel like they're that. It feels like they're little dolls.
Right.
But that game like did both of it. It did the little doll thing. But I think that's because if they'd made it distance-wise, the resolution wouldn't show it.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
So they have to make them like, I don't know. It just a lot of games do that though, and it's just like, oh, they're super. The Adventure Time one did it, and then the story was like, but it still didn't make any sense. It's like you don't feel like you're a giant. You feel like these are little people.
Right.
Which I don't know. There is a difference, right?
when the size does work in other games, like Killer Croc, it's all about
Yeah.
the size of this thing moving.
And he's ginormous, and it looks like, oh my god, that's
Right.
That thing's, I mean, he's super, I mean, his face is huge.
Yeah,
And
I can't do the underwater stuff. Like even if it's just a whale passing over me, it gets
the vibe.
yeah, if the texture is too good, if it's
Yeah.
that's
I can have
my
like a low poly
favorite.
whale and like
The whale with the the vibe when the eye blinks. That always freaked me out a little.
I can't
Because
I can't do it.
the eye of the whale is like
Love the
big as
underwater
you.
ones.
I mean, these are
But it is an amazing experience.
It's really
Yeah.
fun. It's really great. I think like I don't know. It's easy to talk like big about VR, but I think like there's so much potential for people who don't have mobility.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, as training exercises, it's invaluable. Like even like rendering products before.
I mean, it's gonna.
Yeah, it's like before you create your product,
that,
you can have it in 3D and manipulate it and stuff, and kind of get an idea for how it's gonna.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many potential for it. So
It's tough to recommend VR to anyone who's just a casual person.
Right.
Just because
casual
the entry
person.
level is, well, for one thing, it's expensive unless, you know, buying video games and technology is your hobby, which it is for me.
there's a
So,
lot of people out there.
but also you need some know-how. Like the Vive is pretty easy to set up, but even I have issues, and I feel like I'm pretty
Like,
great
yeah.
with.
Out of the
with
three,
computers.
the Vive is the one I'd want myself in my house, but it sounds like too much work to set it all up.
I mean,
the
you
cameras
know,
and
I mean,
everything.
it
I'm like,
works,
is it
but
really worth
every
it?
once in a while, like I can't get the Bluetooth to keep working.
Yeah, I
they never
don't
shut off by
know.
themselves anymore, so I just unplug them. But you know, there is some like little hiccups like that. But the VR, the PlayStation VR, just works. Like I haven't had any issues other than there's this weird drift that
Yeah.
it eventually starts moving to the left, and I think that's just because I'm sitting too far back from it. I don't know. But I think the PlayStation VR impressed me because I'm looking at it from a consumer point of view, but I'm also looking at it from someone who owns their own company as well, and is like, why would people like this? Like this, then the PlayStation is doing everything right. It's like the comfort is great. No one's gonna. I mean, it's a little, you know, like oh, where do I have it? But once you feel it, you're like, oh, that's where it sits. Especially if you've tried the Oculus and the Vive, which are kind of like, this is a ski mask and it's heavy.
Yeah.
And the Oculus is like, I don't know how to position it.
Those screens are probably going to get super small really fast. I
Yeah.
guarantee like these eventually it's just going to be like glasses you put
they need
on.
higher resolution screens first, but they
Yeah.
can't because no one's computer can handle it.
Yeah,
No,
that's
like
true.
the PlayStation, I know they have the PlayStation 4 Pro, which will probably up the graphics fidelity of
Right.
some of the VR games, but it's not going to be the same as like what I can do. And I'm running to the new Titan X's, the ones that are Pascal,
Yeah.
and not many VR uses SLI, which is two video cards going at the same time. But this one does called NVIDIA VR Funhouse, and that makes use of like liquid and hair physics, and it's literally just a tech demo. But like it's the potential, like here, look at developers, throw this shit into your game. The cursor.
You know what you can't do with the PSVR is if you play it in daylight, you lose the experience because everything bleeds in from the back.
Yeah, you know when they were designing the VR, they said the original design did have it blocked out, but people felt a little too
claustrophobic.
yeah, something like that. And
I can
so they
definitely
lifted
see
this
that.
up a little bit. So the bottom is the only part that should actually show light in.
Yeah, and just because I was right next to a bright window, it really spoiled the fun for a lot of games. So I had to wait till night.
But you know, as far as like first generation of consumer products goes, I think the PlayStation VR is the best designed one. Its limiting factor is that its graphic fidelity isn't as great, but the comfort and the lenses are a plus.
Yeah.
And you know, some people probably won't even notice the difference, but me, I definitely noticed the screen door effect is almost gone from there.
It is, yeah, it is.
But when you look at like Oculus, the fidelity is high enough that you can, and also you can see the pixels because the lenses are different. But I don't know which one is my favorite headset. I know the PlayStation VR is definitely the most comfortable.
It's the most comfortable.
I like
definitely.
the Oculus because its screens are a little. I like the lightweightness of it. Like it's not plastic. It's like a weird cloth. So I like all of them have nice things. I wish they just combined
Yeah.
into the perfect
Yeah,
VR
because
headset.
I prefer the Vive as far as games are concerned, but it's so heavy on my face.
Yeah, it's tough. But what the Vive has going for it is the full room tracking. Like that.
Fantastic contraption.
That
I have
one was pretty
videos of you playing that one, and it's so cool.
Like where you just you need to make a wheel here, and you like dragging out all these parts.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
And Job Simulator too, if you haven't played that one.
I'll probably get on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait till like a Gen 2 or 3 for Vive because I know they're already working on like getting rid of the wires and all this
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, as
so.
soon as they're wireless, that'll.
And
make
then
things a
I'll
lot
be stuck
easier.
here with all this stuff that I...
You're an early adopter. That's what you wanted.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's just with technology. Like, even with PCs, like, I've gone through so many video cards and stuff, and
It was hard for me not to buy the VR. I just wanted to save money, so eventually I caved and got the.
Yeah.
But I saved money by waiting for the PlayStation VR, and I'm glad I did.
no, yeah, I mean, it's good. And hey, maybe and you'll probably get the PlayStation Pro, maybe to play
I'm
off
probably
the
now
end.
that my PlayStation is kind of out in my living room. I like using my PlayStation for watching TV in my bedroom when I'm lazy.
So now you're justifying
Buying a PlayStation Pro, putting that to the VR, and then having another PlayStation
yeah,
in my room just for movies and stuff.
What was I saying the other day? My dream, what I'm waiting for, my goal as far as VR is concerned, is being able to lay flat on my back in bed with my VR headset on, watching Netflix on my ceiling.
I mean, you can already do that.
I know.
Hulu actually looks great on the PlayStation VR like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That
That's-
Except
what
for
I want
everything,
if I'm
all
gonna
the
have
scales
one.
off, and they're
is that?
the cup's like this big a bucket.
I don't know. It's great. I mean, but it's
That
really
doesn't bother
comfortable.
me.
It's I don't know.
I like the
relaxing.
Void.
And you can just sit lay on your back and have it projected
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, you know, the PlayStation VR also has you can literally just play any game that's on your PlayStation 4 in VR, but not as in like 3D, as in you're in front of a big screen.
Yeah, it's like you're playing on. Yeah, it allows
frame
you to
rate
play
gets
it on
really
a giant
bad, though.
screen.
Does it?
It does. I tried Tomb Raider on it, and it was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Nope. And the quality's terrible, and and it's just the frame rate is awful.
Well, the PlayStation, it's amazing that the PlayStation 4 can even handle it. But
It's true, yeah.
I guess we can end the topic of. We could go on about VR forever, but
And we will.
Oh, I spit.
we're just on the precipice of all this VR stuff happening this year. It was a great year for VR because it's the first year for VR.
Yeah.
And historians will look back and say, "What garbage technology they had." I mean, it is, but it's
We were so
amazing that
excited.
it actually happened.
It's like when silent films came out. You know, oh, this is amazing. Someday we're gonna.
No one will want sound or color with their films. But yeah,
Or like someday the VR we have now is gonna be like.
So much
oh my
potential.
God.
So much potential. I mean, it's going to open up new worlds. It's already a thing, but now it's like you're stepping into the digital world.
Yeah.
Like video games are just going to become
well,
so amazing if it actually.
that
takes
kind
off.
of like if we want to segue into another topic, I was gonna bring up how the idea that this is gonna revolutionize video games kind of reminds me of like.
Refrigerator, or is it not
It's
cold?
in the fridge.
Oh,
I
okay.
put it in. Kind of reminds me of Westworld. Is like the
yeah.
ultimate, the pinnacle of what video games can
Oh,
be.
yeah.
It just makes me think, like, why are they wasting all this money on these robots and intricate sets when you could just do the same thing in VR probably
Yeah,
in the next 20 years?
that's what
Maybe
it is.
because it just eventually gets to the point where
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know the road.
Oh, well, I think
Anyway, I just want to talk
know.
about Westworld.
Obviously, I haven't seen the most recent episode.
Okay.
Don't talk about that one.
no spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Hey, Westworld,
But-
huh?
But obviously,
VR reminded me of that.
obviously,
'cause
I
it's
think
so much
Westworld.
like a game.
There's without having seen the third episode, there's obviously the theme park is just a facade because I've seen both movies, Future World and the predecessor.
Well, no one knows.
Westworld.
Yet. No one knows.
And yeah, and it's kind of obvious that okay, that's where they're kind of going, but they're kind of doing their own thing. But I'm really enjoying it. I know you guys are too. It's such a great show.
Yeah, I'm like it.
I think along with all the like video game references and the way it's like, oh, this is, someday this is what games will be. You're actually living it out. I am really enjoying it for the mystery. It's like, oh, they're bringing up more questions than answers every show, and I think it's because I grew up on Lost, and Lost is my favorite show. I love that. I love the mystery every week, and I just realized that one of the writers of Lost is working on it, and that's why it reminds me a lot of Lost's formula.
It's pretty well done.
Philosophical mysteries and all that.
The cinematography's great. The acting's great.
Yeah. Oh my
The
gosh.
special effects are great. It's definitely.
The music is amazing.
It's
Oh my
it's
God.
up. It's definitely up there. These used to be called miniseries, but now they're just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
shows.
I think it's only gonna be 10 episodes long. I hope they do another season.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I
I mean,
think
it
they
made
will.
a lot- I think- didn't
There's
it break records?
potential
Yeah.
for. I mean, they could. This is an idea that they can stretch out to.
I mean,
multiple
if you guys have
seasons.
seen the original Westworld or Future World,
I
they
have.
could keep it going.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
forever.
Futural
Like a
World?
sequel.
It's kind of a sequel to it. but it's fun to watch.
Is it also Michael Crichton directed or written? Oh, okay.
No, so it's kind of
because I have seen the original Westworld movie. I didn't read the novelization, the book tie-in.
There's so many different worlds in.
I know. Yeah, there's.
What do they call it?
In the old movie, yeah, it's not just Westworld. They've got Roman World.
Right, Roman World. They have Future World, which
Medieval World, right?
Medieval World, yeah.
And then in Future World they have one like the Fountain of Youth World where you can go and it actually projects images onto you that make you look like you're young again and all this weird stuff.
I'm anticipating. I could totally see them doing because they keep doing the thing where they broaden your perspective every scene, like in the first episode.
Yes,
you know, it's
true,
like
true.
every scene presents you with a new perspective on something you've already seen. I'm totally expecting them to bring in the other worlds. Like we find out the Westworld isn't the only park, unless they just decide to scrap that idea for the show.
Who knows?
But,
or maybe they're just trying to keep the right.
Yeah, maybe they're just
ideas
gonna.
for the future. But you know what I like about the show, which I think a lot of movies obviously don't have enough time to do, is they show how stuff works, and I like that. And then they're slowly introducing it. Like what I liked about like movies like Prometheus and stuff is that you actually got to see how the ship moved. You got to see, oh, here's an engine, here's how the engines work. I like all that kind of stuff because, like, that's what I'm interested in. I'm like, how does that? Because some movies just gloss over it, and you're like, okay, I guess it just works. But like I really liked seeing that without spoiling anything with Westworld. They show people going into Westworld. I like that they show and they don't give you all the information like how this works. Right. It's like, oh, how do people get into the Westworld?
They're not describing it. They're just showing you as part of the story,
which is great because that's the best kind of storytelling is ones that isn't
good storytelling, good directing.
What's the word? It's not
just explained. It's not just
exposition.
Right. It's not as much exposition.
There's not very much exposition.
Right.
I mean, there is a little bit, but it's more about characters talking about characters like past.
I like it. None of the dialogue seems like it's unnecessary. They're not giving you the information you need, and that's what keeps you turning in.
I see a little bit of visually. I wonder if they took a leaf from the Hunger Games with the the park directors, the way they control the park, the hologram.
Which I'm still kind of unsure how that works.
Yeah. I mean, I know we don't want to spoil anything, but
anyways, Westworld is pretty great. It's got, if you like cowboys, robots, and the future.
That opening theme alone and the visuals is amazing.
HBO always hits a home run as far as opening credits are concerned. You can still watch the
first episode for free, right?
I don't know, but you guys.
And I mean, the first episode is really great. I mean, the second and third are good too, but that first one, they knew they had to make a pilot.
Yeah.
And that one scene with that one song that we don't want to spoil.
Oh my god, I loved it. I mean,
they knew what they were doing.
The music was really great in the original. And it's even better in this remake, reimagining. It's so cool. It's such a fun idea to imagine that you're going to go to this park.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun in Westworld, and then everything.
I heard that there's a lot of younger people, like millennials and stuff, who are like, oh, way to rip off the plot of Jurassic Park,
which is
not realizing that it's the same author.
This actually came before Jurassic Park.
Yeah, he wrote
it was by the same guy.
It was actually his first and maybe only director experience.
Yeah, no, it was his first and only.
Yeah, and he took that idea and ran with it for Jurassic Park, and I guess there's a lot of young people online who are like making fun of it for ripping off Jurassic Park.
But isn't that that's just like when someone says, like, oh, I love this song by there, and I'm like, that's just a cover they did. The song is like 60 years old.
But it's like, I just like the idea of like, Michael Crichton, like, if you got a good idea, just run with it.
It's really fun. I'm really looking forward to watching it the next episode.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend Westworld.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched Luke Cage. I finished that up on Netflix.
Oh God, we haven't started that.
I kind of lost it. We got through halfway of season 2 of Daredevil, and I just couldn't.
Barely even halfway.
Was that?
I think we made it like 3 episodes in.
I thought the beginning of Daredevil season 2 was so great. Like the first couple episodes just amazing, and then it just kind of gets a little. Kind of when Elektra is introduced, it kind of just takes.
I don't think we got. Did I get that far? I don't think
we didn't. We didn't make it to.
It never really recovers from it, but towards the end you get those kind of payoff moments with the Punisher that is pretty worth it.
I do want to finish it. It's just one of those things where I don't have the motivation to finish it.
Jessica Jones. A few of those episodes were hard to get through.
Jessica Jones was really boring in the middle.
It felt like it was just stretched out.
It could have been half as long. I had to really suck it up and push through the middle of Jessica Jones, and then the end got a little better.
I waited. I kind of paced myself. Luke Cage was easy to get through, but it kind of slows down a little bit. But I think it wraps up fairly decently. So maybe they're learning.
I really want to watch Luke Cage. I feel like I have to, just for the sake of being a completionist, I need to finish Daredevil season 2.
He's such a great actor, and there's so many other great actors that appear in that show. Like, it's just very real, and it gets a little silly here and there, but most of the time it's like very. He doesn't have a costume.
Yeah.
They kind of joke about that. You learn his origins. It's a sequel to Jessica Jones. It happens right after. It's great, and the music is amazing in Luke Cage, and it is it's blaxposition. It has that whole culture that we are so alien to, but
blaxploitation.
Yeah, it's
kind of like inspired by.
Right. So
obviously,
it is kind of relevant to what's happening today, but they didn't it's not directly on the nose.
Yeah, because when did Luke Cage start as a
like
comic?
In the 70s, right? 70s? Yeah. So he's a very powerful figure, and I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how popular it's getting, but just the symbolism and who he is and how he's a nice dude. Like he's really great. Like he's like
and like people are saying right
he's
now.
Harlem's Captain America, basically.
Yeah, we need that right now, and like I think I watched videos of their Comic-Con panel, and a lot of the fans asking them questions and stuff are like it means a lot to have. We need a bulletproof black superhero right now.
I mean the whole
this current turmoil. I don't know. It's just
sweatshirts right now. If they haven't already, I know there's going to be a lot of people dressing up as that.
Yeah.
Just that visual.
Yeah, I want to see it.
I
like the actor and
the trailer got me all pumped. I thought the trailers were really good. Yeah. That got me interested.
Iron Fist. I mean, they're teasing that. There's not much to go off of.
I don't know anything about Iron Fist. I've just seen pictures on my phone.
They showed him punching down a door.
I don't know who's playing him, but just from the little thumbnails I've seen, is it the guy from Game of Thrones?
I can't remember. It's a white guy, though.
With the curly blonde hair?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so.
He looks like, what's his name?
Wish I knew. But
from Game of Thrones, one of the Tyrells.
Hopefully David's looking it up right now. No. Okay. Well, anyways, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm more looking forward to the Punisher show, which I didn't know they were making, because the Punisher was amazing in Daredevil too. I just loved him so much.
Of course he's getting a spinoff.
Oh God! Yeah.
We were laughing at the end of Jessica Jones. I mean, it's not a spoiler, but obviously he like takes off in the last episode and he's like not around. It's like oh, I'm sorry, I have to go do my spinoff. Luke Cage, he like disappears in the last episode, and they like don't know what happened to him. It's like, bye, I gotta do my spinoff.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how Marvel hooks you. It's like even if you don't necessarily like what you're watching, you wanna figure out how it all interconnects.
Yeah, I mean it's always interesting. Yeah.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has a lot of ups and downs. Sticking with it can be hard.
I couldn't do that one.
There's some great seasons. There's some seasons. Some great episodes. Some just horrible episodes. I'm liking what they're doing with Ghost Rider, but I can understand it's probably not your guys' cup of tea. It's too mainstream television.
I don't think I could get into that one.
Yeah, I can't do any of the CW shows.
It's
still CW.
Well, and I'm surprised
Flash,
a lot of those network shows are still, the 22 episode formula, where it's like that used to be the norm. Like Lost was 22 episodes until, near the end of their run, and that's what I was used to. And then somewhere it shifted when cable like HBO and that kind of stuff got popular, and now it's like anything longer than 12 episodes, it seems like it drags on forever to me.
It's right, and I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's done television storytelling a lot of good, cutting it down, slimming it down, because I mean Lost was a victim of that. Lots of filler in season 3, the infamous episode showing the backstory in this episode is how Jack got his tattoo. Like, no one gives a crap. And as soon as they got an end date from the studio, it immediately got back on track.
Primetime is just I don't like it. I
can't do it
tell
anymore.
the story that you need in the episodes that you need it, and like 10 or 12 is perfect.
That's why I'm liking the Netflix shows and like even some of the
Breaking
Hulu
Bad.
stuff, the Amazon stuff.
Still working through Breaking Bad.
Yeah, they're kind of basic cable. Is that what they're called? Like
Yeah.
AMC and FX.
Yeah, they're kind of going more.
Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy.
Pretty
They
good.
all did the 12, 13 episode formula, and
Yeah, you got to get through
That's the
Breaking
way to do
Bad so you can get to Better Call
Yeah.
Saul, which are great.
Yes.
You know,
Better
the
Call
subject matter is
Saul.
always, to me, is always like, that doesn't seem like an interesting show to me. Nothing. But then when you watch it, the cinematography is so great.
It's all
Yeah, and
about
the
who's
acting.
making
Yeah.
it.
And that's what makes it. So basically,
Yeah.
if you have good cinematography
It's-
and a good
Any story,
anything's interesting.
and any location can be interesting if you know how to write it and shoot it.
But that's what makes it great. I mean,
Like, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Breaking Bad. They always talk about how that could be the most boring location, the most boring visuals ever, but it's a beautiful show because
Yeah.
the cinematography is top notch.
It's great. Shows like that, Amazon, like, I know they just greenlit The Tick, which
Oh.
is just amazing that you can get something so obscure
yeah.
like that made because fans demanded it.
I
They
watched
really-
I
it
watched
got
the
popular
first
enough, so.
episode, that one, and
I can see
didn't really know
potential,
what to
but,
think
yeah.
of it.
It's weird, but I wanted to support it because it was like I want to see something like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
see more
I
shit
think
like
that's what
this.
most
Yeah.
people
It's
felt,
great.
is like, I want to see more stuff like
And
this.
I thought the
Yeah.
actor that did The Tick, like when he came in, the show started getting it. Before that, it was like, what am I watching?
I was like,
and then when he came
how
in, it
could
was
I
like, okay,
not-
there's The Tick.
How could the Tick not be played by Patrick
Patrick
Warburton? I was like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
then he did good. I
And then
like the new guy.
You got Rorschach as the villain. He's pretty scary and
Yeah.
the kind of morbid.
Shaq was that
gallows
who it was?
humor.
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him.
Jackie Earl Haley?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
He's
him.
in a bunch of makeup.
Whoa,
so-
I did not. Yeah, I didn't realize that was
I,
him.
I hope that I don't know if the show's gonna be good, but it's
Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah, and it
would
doesn't
never
even
be greenlit anywhere else.
It doesn't even
right?
matter if it's not my cup of tea. Like even if I don't feel like catching up or watching the rest of it, I'm glad it exists. Like get more variety out there.
Sure. How long have we been going
Oh,
on?
I don't
It's
know.
4:47. We started around.
I'm going to check the...
Did we start around 4? I think we started around 4.
Take my mic off and go check.
Okay.
Because we started pretty late.
We've been
Hey,
going for...
this has to be spam. You have an admirer. Someone from your school just mentioned you on UChat. Yeah,
an
right.
hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah,
Is that
right.
Yeah. Yeah. For just the audio recording.
Well, yeah, I started that.
It's been going about a little over an hour.
Oh, yeah. And the video, we've been going...
So what?
So
Do we want to
all
go to
good
like
10, 15
5:30?
minutes.
Feels longer. Feels longer.
Yeah.
But
I guess we don't. Yeah, 2 hours is pretty long.
Yeah, we're just testing things. Also, we don't know if the stream... Let me put that back on. We also don't know if the stream is like working for people. It works for me, but there might be, if you have a lower connection, maybe it's cutting out.
I'm gonna.
Just because we're streaming at very high quality, and
What do we do if we need to use the restroom? Because that's the thing that's happening.
just gotta put it down and go
I
and
went.
do it. And then we'll talk about some other stuff while you're gone.
And I still use Tumblr pretty often, and I do check for SPG stuff. I reblog fan art and everything. So I guess if anyone is enjoying the podcast, use the hashtag, the Bennettarium?
The Bennettarium, yeah.
Or SPG. I mean,
No, that's cool.
basically I
That's good.
searched SPG, but yeah, if you hashtag anything on Tumblr, want to post about this or share screenshots, I will occasionally do a search for the Bennettarium, and I'll try and reblog stuff.
Yeah, people are there's a few people that have tweeted on the multiple accounts.
No.
Let's do this while we're there. We want to have some interaction. We just weren't sure how we were going to do it. But I think Twitter's a great way. It's nice and concise.
Loving the podcast.
Let's see.
See that right
Me
now.
Fast a while ago. This is about 5 hours ago. Asked if the podcast is going to be weekly, monthly, or just whenever we want, kind of thing. We want to keep to a schedule because that's the best way we can get people to tune in for the Engineer-eteers stuff. We want to keep it Mondays, and we want the time to be a little flexible, just because we know some guests that we have on aren't going to be able to get work off
Yeah.
at 3
And-
p.m. our time.
Podcast is a little easier than a live stream where you have to talk to the camera constantly, so
Yeah.
it seems like an easier thing to commit to.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
keep
yeah.
it at weekly.
Because we don't want to do any prep for their podcast, because the podcasts I listen to, I do like a lot of the ones that are like, Star Talk is obviously a lot of prep for that one. Like Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Classical Podcast
Yeah.
is also like, there's a lot of prep for that because they're interviewing like, all these actors and stuff. But I like podcasts like Harmontown and stuff that are very off the cuff
Loose,
almost. Yeah,
free
which is-
form.
I think that would fit good with how we communicate,
Like,
how we talk to
like
each
Bunny
other.
was saying earlier, though, you guys do so much presentation already
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
need something completely improv. Don't worry about presenting.
I mean, we're a little
Right.
presenting. We're trying to cheat a little bit to the camera, so you can.
I'm not.
I haven't been. I've been talking
Yeah.
over here, which is I don't
Well,
know.
you know, most of this is an audio podcast. We have to. I'm sure we'll get that in
Yeah.
our heads.
I
Right
mean-
now,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, there's a camera.
You guys
but
are gonna
that-
see.
I can't see
Only
the
for
screen, so
Engineer-eteers, right?
I'm not even bothered by it.
I'm just mostly a mess of hair most of the
Yeah.
time during this thing.
Well, it's not. It's mostly about the audio because most
Yeah.
people probably hear the
Yeah.
audio of this, right? But,
So,
but there is a video for Engineer-eteers.
In the future, you'll probably pull some questions from Engineer-eteers.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely.
probably have like a post like for Engineer-eteers, and if the only way you can watch this or hear it is if you're an engineer. No, actually, people, if you just download this on iTunes or got it from our website for free or whatever, then I guess you don't know. You might not know an Engineer-eteer. So we'll just say that. So in the Engineer-eteer program is kind of like the Patreon of Steam Powered Giraffe. We don't have a Patreon account, which is basically a fan donation service. You don't know what Patreon is. And it's a way for fans to enable artists to keep doing what they are doing. So we have the Engineer-eteer program, which people sign up for one of our monthly subscriptions. It starts at like, I don't know, $3-something, almost, I can't remember how much a month. It's
$4 a
somewhere around $3 or $4 a month. But you pay it in like advance, so you buy a year in advance. Or
And that
something.
ain't bad for all the stuff
You
you
get
access to.
all of our albums except for like the most recent releases.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 months for $25, and
Yeah.
you get. And if we come out with new content at that time, you get it all, and it's not like any of the content goes away. So it's really like a donation service. So if you really want access to all our albums, then it's a very cheap way to get them all. $25, and you get all the albums, all the videos that we have, all these blogs, and even some like guitar chords from some older
Yeah.
songs.
But we wanted to keep. This is actually, we definitely wanted to attach this to the Engineer-eteer program somehow because we're giving you more content. So.
Yeah, I mean, we could put this up on YouTube and stuff, but I think the idea is that we would have to be more presentational with something that we throw up on YouTube.
Yeah.
We want the podcast to be listenable to everyone, though, but we think it's a nice special thing to
There's-
like.
Yeah,
tune in.
there should be something special and exclusive
Right.
there. The
We're
gonna
incentive
post,
to
right, yeah.
sign up.
We're gonna post this, I think, to YouTube, but just in the audio format. So
Sure.
I don't know if anyone's actually gonna use YouTube to do that, but it's available there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says there are 31 users watching, but it goes to 5 sometimes, so I don't know.
Oh, maybe we always had 20 or 30.
Who knows?
So, so Engineer-eteer program, you can sign up www.steampoweredgiraffe.com/engineer. Support the band. Obviously, get more of these live videos.
Yeah. You can actually just go to our website, steampoweredgiraffe.com, and find the links there.
Yeah.
For the Engineer-eteer site, yeah, that'd be the easiest way.
I think I did have someone ask me yesterday if this was going to be on YouTube, and the answer is no.
The video won't.
the
but
video,
the,
yeah.
The audio will
Podcast.
be with so 'cause that way there's always a way to listen to the podcast, whatever your preferred way of listening
Right.
to it
And
is.
if you're just and if you do play YouTube, it actually helps us. If you're just like
Oh,
putting
yeah,
it on
yeah.
in the background, we're
and
making money.
I know Spotify also has stuff for podcasts now, which I definitely want to sign up for and submit our stuff to. But
yeah.
the first episode, it'll take a while to get on everywhere, but I'm sure once we start doing this weekly, we'll try to do it weekly. There's definitely going to be a Monday where we won't be able to, or we can't find time.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think it'll be pretty easy to do this every Monday.
So we talked a lot about VR. We're talking about Westworld and some shows. Obviously, we all enjoy media. We work in entertainment and stuff. So
And everyone likes video games or plays some type of technology entertainment.
our generation is kind of weird because we're not the baby boomers. We're not Generation X. We're not millennials. We're kind of in between. I don't know what they call us. Generation Z. I don't know.
I heard
Why?
Generation M once for media. Generation.
Yeah, I don't
So we've kind
know.
of seen the evolution of media and stuff, and I think we're all kind of nerds, and I think we've seen that culture grow. And when the internet came out, there really was this like camaraderie that kind of started building. Like there's other people out there that are into this nerdy stuff, and they may kind of make it okay to do, so you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm not socializing enough. Like like nerd culture is just kind of taken off, and I feel like the interconnectivity between like media and the fans is just an amazing thing right now for people who enjoy that type of stuff. Like, it's just a new frontier, and shows like that Amazon produces and Netflix. That's amazing. Like, television has come so far, and it just keeps evolving. It just keeps changing. I'm just like blown away by it, like seeing all that stuff.
I mean, VR too. I mean, when as a kid, we were able to see. I mean, we're young enough or old enough that we know what an Atari is, but really, my first memory of video games was the regular Nintendo, not the Super Nintendo, but the real
our dad
Nintendo.
bought it for himself, but we.
Yeah. So we've always had video games in our household since like. I don't know, since I'm able to remember.
Our dad worked on computers quite often, like when they were when he was at the forefront of it, like when they were the size of warehouses.
So we were able to see we had
growth.
MS-DOS and stuff back in the day, and I remember Windows 3.1 and when Windows 3.11 came out.
GUI interface. What?
But it was definitely like we were able to see like from that all the way to make a jump from there till when Diablo 2 came out, like or 3D games after that, like, and all the way through college. It followed all the way through college. PlayStation 1, 2, 3 had them all.
Yeah.
I had pretty much all the consoles except for Dreamcast, I think. And that spread over the course of our lifetimes, which is 30 years of whatever.
What was the one with the wood grain on it? Was that in television?
There's a lot of ones like that have wood grain.
That
There's
was
the
my
Atari,
first
there's
system.
in television, yeah. I think a few
In
Ataris
television.
had
I think it was
that,
maybe the Atari.
Was my first one.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Our dad had an Atari, but I don't remember it.
I never had an Atari.
And obviously, like, I think, folks that come after us are going to have such a benefit growing up in all this technology. Like, you guys are smarter generally. You have more access to information. Like, some people like joke that the millennials are like dumb and shit, but they have more access to information. They can look up things that we didn't know back in the day because you had to go to a library and look it up.
Yeah.
We didn't have. I mean, we had a computer.
I had physical encyclopedias.
We had a
volumes of
CD-ROM.
them.
We had a CD-ROM encyclopedia, and it was like, and you could look up a little bit of things like, what's Abraham Lincoln did, and like there was that kind of stuff. But it wasn't at our fingertips. And of course, there's misinformation out there. But it's that there's enough information out there that if you took the time, you could find the right information.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's something that's no one has really had before at their fingertips. I mean, I could look up now, and now it's like, maybe I don't want to, but every once in a while I'll be like, that's why it's so easy to like, just lay in bed with your cell phone and be like, well, I'm stuck on Wikipedia now, and
I'm on Imgur.
I don't know how I got here.
Here's some creepypasta that's gonna keep me awake all night. But and some of that stuff can be like frowned upon, like, oh, you're wasting time, I'm not doing anything with my life. But with anything, there comes that.
Oh yeah, everything's a waste of time. Even you could say the same thing about wood carving.
I wasted
Or
plenty
reading.
of time
Or
before I
reading,
had the internet.
I don't think any of it's worse than anything. I think humans just need to occupy themselves.
You need some moderation in all aspects of your life.
And there's nothing wrong about playing video games for your 24 hours. It's just if you play video games for 24 hours or something, then you're not working a job to pay your bills. But working a job doesn't necessarily mean you're good or bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just a society we live in, and if we didn't have any of the society things, then it wouldn't matter about playing video games all the time, right? So
to be honest, I do my job, and not only because it scratches like a part of me, my creative side, but also so I can play more video games.
Yeah, I mean, but also like when you're happiest, it's usually when you have a balance of everything in your life. If you're just playing video games, which seems like the best thing to do,
you get bored.
I get bored all the time if I have too much time to play video games. Like I know I want to be working on creative stuff, and I want to do things that make me feel less anxiety, like doing taxes and stuff. Like that's a big relief when you don't have to, when that's taken care of and stuff. And then I want to reward myself with video games and sleep. But too much of any of that stuff will drive you crazy. So being a human is definitely about balance.
Yeah, it's a balance. I mean, I have another job that I work that, while it's not absolutely terrible, it's a job, it gets stressful, and I have those days where I can't wait to go home, but honestly, I need that. Yeah. I've been unemployed before, and I have had the time to watch Netflix all day or play video games all day, and I hate myself as a person when I'm doing the things that make me happy 24/7. I like having work and,
well, nature
there has to be responsibility because it makes having no responsibility
Well, yeah,
more
nature
enjoyable.
Nature doesn't care about responsibility or what.
Yeah.
What you, the video's frozen.
Uh-oh.
The video, how long has it been frozen? I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Well, the last time you took a sip of your water.
I don't remember when that was.
Ah.
Well, we went a good hour without it doing it.
That's
Are they
good.
still hearing us?
Yeah, there's.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, David and I kind of have an interesting predicament. Like, I mean, we've done the 9-to-5 jobs before. We've worked our share of, crap, too, and some pretty decent jobs. But now it's kind of like we have to self-motivate all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always tasks to do every day that are just like, stuff we don't want to do, that just in the maintenance of SPG. Especially David, because he handles the business side of things.
It's hard. Self-motivation, you have to have a lot of willpower
Yeah.
to learn that skill. And I learned it early on because I was homeschooled or independent study from 8th grade on. So I feel like that was like really invaluable experience for me because I learned that responsibility and I forget the term right now, but basically you have to learn how to not procrastinate.
It's difficult.
Early on, and it's still difficult
Right.
as someone who kind of, one of my 2 jobs is I have flexibility to kind of create my own hours, and yeah, it's always a constant test of self-motivation and not procrastinating and all that.
Finding the balance is difficult, especially when you're doing like an art job like we kind of do. It's very different, but I think it's great, like as we were talking about, in an age of nerds and art and stuff that is so accessible. Your whole career spectrum can change, and I know it's like we kind of got off on a good foot. We somehow made this work, but so many other people are making it work in smaller ways and also larger ways. Like people that sell commissions, you can make a living off of that. And it's like you might struggle a little bit, but before I did Steam Powered Giraffe, I was doing commissions because I got laid off at my job, and it made a decent living for me. Like I would just draw all the time for money, and it kind of builded me up as an artist. So people can do that today. All these tools are accessible to you.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, unfortunately, it's the drive to actually put something together. I mean, granted, once you have a fan base, it's a little easier to sell anything, right?
Yes.
But I mean, there were years of. I mean, we've been doing it long enough now, almost 10 years. Next January, it'll be 10 years. It'll be 9 years in.
10 years.
But even before Steam Powered Giraffe, we were doing things that were like Steam Powered Giraffe. So we've been doing it more than a decade, definitely.
Yes.
Ever since we started college, basically, and we did it for so many years without even a thought of we have to market this, we have to make money off of this. And there's always the thought of, oh, this would be cool, but we always had the mentality that oh yeah, we'll do it eventually, and we did, didn't we? I mean, eventually we had to slowly become a company to be hired by the zoo. Like there was just very gradual steps. It was never like, bam, we're at the top. It was all like, oh, now we have to go start an actual, go start an LLC so this company can pay us for working at this place. And that it's like very small steps every step of the way, and that's what it's been.
It's been really eye-opening and such an amazing experience, working with Steam Powered Giraffe, because I was also an artist my whole life, but in a very different way. On the opposite end of the spectrum, being a dancer in a ballet company where I didn't have any creative input. It's like my art form was dancing, but I wasn't the one choreographing what I was dancing. So like I learned, how to I'm used to performing, creating, expression with my body. I still get stage fright when I have to talk in front of an audience because I learned, dance, ballet is obviously nonverbal. But I was told what to create and how to, use my body to create dance and everything. And working with Steam Powered Giraffe, I had the opportunity to choreograph and stage my own dance for the first time. And even though I've been an artist my whole life, I'm just now learning and figuring out how to present my own creations. I don't know. It's been different. And
well, we're definitely all making Steam Powered Giraffe. I mean, Steam Powered Giraffe's kind of set up in a way that it kind of works for every single person, basically.
Yeah, it's been more invaluable experience for me getting to create my own stuff.
Because I mean,
I already
Steam Powered
have,
Giraffe
yeah,
get to
I
do
already
so
have the
much.
tools and the skills and the technique I learned over the course of my whole life dancing, but now I get to actually choose what I'm dancing and
I mean,
creating.
it's the same with like running the business stuff and the website
Yeah.
and stuff. Is like, there's a part of me that wants to do that kind of stuff. At some point, it's like, okay, I don't need to be doing social streams. I don't need to be doing customer service emails anymore. But you know, at one point, we were doing all that stuff, and it kind of filled a void. It hit the mark for what's the saying? Hit the spot. Yeah, for whatever at that time, like you got to do everything. Like all the jobs that we've ever did, all the improv, all the stuff I did in college, music theater. Basically we just took everything we wanted, we liked, and put it into one group. And unfortunately, you have to do business stuff in there. I mean, everyone in the band has experienced that at some point. It's not all just fun and games. You've experienced the merchandise side of it. And contracts as well, money as well. Talking to, trying to sell yourself is very difficult. Like, that's why it's so great when like, a venue or an event wants you just because your fans are like amazing and they show up to everything and they're just so enthusiastic. Because trying to sell yourself to like for a corporate gig is like, I don't know what makes us great. It's just, or why people like us. Just if you want this many people to come to your event, hire us. That's what basically,
which is nice.
It's the actual concert. What most of the fans see is like the tiny tip of the iceberg, and it's the same mentality with being a ballet dancer. You're on stage a couple nights a year, and then the rest of the year is spent in a studio, going over the choreography over and over and over. And it's the same with the business side of Steam Powered Giraffe is what 90% of it.
It's true. No one sees it. No one knows the story.
You have to.
It's boring, but it's
as with ballet.
it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
I think people would have more respect if they somehow knew what we do. But
as with ballet, you have to have so much passion for what you're doing, and you have to have that. You want that to be your life. The artistic side of it and the performing, you have to love it enough to want to do all of the other stuff behind the scenes for the majority of the time.
For me, it definitely, all the contracts, all the planning, the graphic design, and it all pays off when you're finally on stage for 2 hours, which feels like nothing. Like, I live for that moment. The next show that we're doing. It's like I'm going to live for that moment.
It's only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
All this travel, all this preparation, all this makeup, and all this stuff goes into this 2 hours.
Yeah, and I've gotten to the point in my life where I've been doing it for so many years, Steam Powered Giraffe and with City Ballet of San Diego, that I've gotten to that point where it excites me doing the business stuff of it. Sometimes it's stressful, but shipping merchandise and booking shows and all that, I've gotten to that point where it actually can excite me, and I have fun doing that because I know what the payoff is.
It's building something. We're constantly building towards something, so releasing an album obviously is great and all, but it does not have the same feeling as nailing a new show or something.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's like lackluster. Once it's out, it's like, oh, okay, I hope people like this.
I mean, we get a little bit more when down the road with music videos. There's a little bit of legs to the album, but once an album's out, it's like, it was so much work. It's a lot of preparation, and the payoff is not as good as the live show.
SPG is a weird entity. I really think the live show is the best part of it, but
I like making albums to an extent. And like when we're doing it, but there's definitely like, oh boy, that was exhausting.
I would just much rather just focus on the live show and have music come from that based on things that we can do with a live show. And I think for the last couple of years, it just hasn't been that. I mean, we could talk forever about.
Yeah, have you thought about bringing any new songs to this live set first and then putting them on the album?
We always say that
we've done it. We've done it in the past. I mean, it's really whatever happens, right? Like Fire that took forever. Some songs.
I was just wondering, like, if that was kind of like a one-time thing, or if you want to do that in the future.
But I mean, it just the main issue is. And this is not an issue. It's just this is how the company just had to run itself. Was the only way we make money is off of CD sales and Engineer-eteers. So naturally, doing live shows it basically furthers those things.
Right.
Because we'll get paid for a lot of the shows we do. But it's not enough to live off of. It's enough to basically say I worked for the weekend, and that's good.
Yeah.
But we only do a few shows a month, anyways. Or sometimes we'll have stints where we don't book anything because we're working on other projects. So albums and stuff are bring home the bread. Unfortunately,
and it's unfortunate because I don't know. I mean, I have paranoia about a lot of things, but I never want to reach that point where we're doing it because we have to, and I try to get that in my brain. But to be perfectly honest, it's work. It's especially the end couple of months. It's just work, and and you don't feel good about it. It feels like I'm being forced to we're done. Finish this off.
You're done writing the songs a long time, and then the rest is just actually going through the motions of getting it down. Which that's not to say that the quality's not there. Obviously, we wouldn't spend a year on an album or 6 months or whatever the project is, if it was easier, or if we could just shoot it out, because we could shoot out a song in one day if we wanted to. It's not that hard. I mean, we just give it start in the morning, finish at the night. We could do it, but we try to spend time to more quality on it.
It'd be nice if we didn't have to release an album every year. I hope we don't, because that trend is going to get real fast.
Unfortunately, every time we didn't release an album the year, we kind of suffered financially because of it. So that's why we have to release an album every year. I mean, that's not to say that we're not going to run out of ideas. It's just it would be nice if we didn't have to.
I mean, it's weird because we're not like many other bands. I mean, I don't know how other bands how do they keep their funds going?
Well, I mean, it's the music industry. All of our peers, at least, are. I don't. There's
a little gnat flying around.
I don't know about the other all the financial details with other ones, but I know we're doing pretty well compared to our peers. But we're a bigger entity than a lot of them. Some are just single people. Maybe they make the same amount as us by themselves, but we're 6 people strong, and only 3 of us are main time players who actually put in all the time, and then and then you're probably next, and then Steve and Camille are the last ones who kind of contribute.
I mean they're mainly their work is with the live shows.
Yeah. So I mean that's a lot of people, though. Even I would say maybe 4 people in total that actually are supported by Steam Powered Giraffe in some sense. That we don't make enough to have families. I mean, maybe if I didn't buy video games.
It's true.
Yeah, sure.
I think hobbies and video games kind of.
Your video games are your family.
Right. Yeah. But I have no aspirations for that. But I know you probably couldn't survive off of Steam Powered Giraffe, even though you worked here every week.
It's true. I can't. I do have another job, but
Same with Steve. Like, the live shows don't do it for him. I mean, it's a nice income, and we pay him monthly for his rehearsals and stuff, as well as whatever he contributes. But it's not a way to make money, unfortunately, and it makes us money, Bunny and I, as well as Sam and past members, because of albums. And it is a little not discerning, but past members who are not even in the group anymore sometimes are months, depending on sales, make more money than someone like Steve, who's actively in the group. But so that's just what it is to be in a band. Like, that's why we have to do stuff like a Patreon-like site, as well as albums and sell albums. Like of course we want to give everything away for free, and we put up all our albums on YouTube and stuff, and Spotify eventually, just because we want people to look at this content. We're still creating stuff. We don't want to make everything behind a paywall or something, but if we don't, then we can't keep going.
I mean, a lot of YouTubers, unless they get signed up with YouTube, they are kind of going to these exclusive pay for stuff. Like, I know some of the cartoons on YouTube, they're doing that because they need the money. And quite honestly, animation is expensive, and producing those shows is time consuming. I mean, we're trying to do our own, and it's 2 people, and honestly, it's less than that, because I'm working on one of the videos, and David's working on another, and it's just one person. We'll get it done. It's crazy.
I don't think we bite off more than we chew, because we've been doing it for enough years that we kind of know our limits, because we've reached them in the past. And I feel like I'm a lot less stressed now, because I'm because the main things for when we for the company is we have to do live shows and we have to come out with an album every year. That's like the 2 things that we know we have to do. And we haven't come out with an album every year, so maybe we'll get tired of it. But we came out with 3 in the last 2 years, but that's just because one of them was a separate project.
Right. We were kind of.
But before that we didn't have an album, and before that, the album before that, we didn't have one. So it's only been that way 2 years in a row, so that's why I don't feel like it's too much yet. But I can definitely see that we're going to be like, boy, it would be really great if we didn't have to come out with an album this year.
Well, that's
because then we could come out with something else.
That too. I mean, and plus, just from an artistic standpoint, it doesn't matter how great of musicians we are, how much we can create. Because obviously we have a ton of ideas and we can refine them and we can work on them and we can give the time to these. But it's just...
But if it starts becoming routine...
Well, it takes up about
Right.
half of our year. So that means we have one half of the year to work on stuff for the new show, and as well as any projects, comics, music videos. And then for the rest of that half of the year, we're stuck making an album. And I don't want to say stuck. Obviously we enjoy it. It's just... It's kind of the...
It's a lot of work.
It's the reality.
It's the reality of it, basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of like reinventing yourself every year, trying to...
I mean, we do a damn good job of it, I think,
saying-
because I've
We're-
seen the,
we're
I've seen
super
the stuff
prolific.
we're working on.
We're
Saying
super
you're
prolific.
stuck making an album isn't necessarily, that's not you being negative about making an album. It's just a reality of the fact that you do have to set a schedule for yourself if it's going to come out that year.
Which also is also kind of weird because, you're training yourself to be creative on a deadline. But I don't think when you give yourself a year, you're like, well...
That's
I know
just
the
the nature
ideas are gonna. I mean, that's just what it is. But we don't ever poop stuff out and like, this is good enough. I mean, every once in a while they'll be like, oh, we really should have fixed that. But that's just like due to technical issues or something. But for the most part, there's obviously we put enough effort into all of it, and that's not tooting our own horns. That's just like, well, we did the work, and it doesn't matter if anyone likes it. It's just if we like it, that's all that matters. But not
I guess
really.
that's important. I mean,
some people are gonna have to like it enough to
in the business,
say, oh, it's good.
In the business, like obviously you kind of have to. It's not whenever we want it to get done, and we don't like that mentality. I mean, we've struggled with that with past members and stuff. Is that the artist kind of needs to just take breaths and work at their own pace sometimes, but that goes against the grain of running a business.
Well, I mean, we have to have a product.
We all
It's a
feel it. I know we
balance.
do. Like we all feel that. I wish we just did not have to have a deadline. Like, because that's what the artist wants. They just want to work freely and not have that. But you have to in something like this.
Well, I mean, and you have to have it when the actual deadline is approaching. And when we're hired by like a company to get something else done, like
Exactly.
we have to. That takes priority. And I mean,
It would be great if we got to a point where we were financially well off, where we didn't have to worry about it. But
we're far from that. If we skip a year, like I don't know, we couldn't survive. We couldn't.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of the conundrum of Steam Powered Giraffe.
We have to keep doing live shows to keep the fans interested.
It's exposure.
and also exposure for new stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, we also like performing. But
Like, I can't tell you how many newcomers I've had at tables at conventions who just happen to catch the show and become diehard fans after that. You have to have live
and
shows.
it's also balance. It's like we know we're making people events and stuff a good deal of money, and so then you have to find the balance of like how much do they pay us, because we know we're making them this much. Like you have to kind of guesstimate it, because obviously if we could play a ton more places if we did everything for free and funded everything ourselves, but we don't have that kind of money, so you got to have people pay you. And I mean, it's just another. I mean, we've only come to know after a decade of doing it is.
I mean, not to be discouraging, but if you guys, if anyone listening to this thinks that we've made it,
No.
like we don't think that in our minds. Like
Definitely
we feel like there's so much more to go, and it's trying to figure out how to get there, because now
I think that's a good mentality to have. I don't
Yeah,
think
true.
you want to feel like you've made it.
we never feel like, I don't think we're ever bored, or we don't feel like we have to
Yeah.
challenge ourselves. I don't think we've ever been comfortable.
We've always kind of rocked the boat a little
Yeah.
bit.
Right. Every year something's changing with the act, like new songs, new videos, and that's just like on the bare surface level of change. Like we're constantly challenging ourselves because, quite honestly, like there's so many ideas in our heads that every year it's something different. Oh, this year, all this space opera stuff. Like let's do this. We want to redo some of these old songs of ours, so we came out with that album, tied it to the SteamWorld Heist video game. Like there's just so much variety in our act. I've never seen any musician be as prolific as we have. Maybe they're out there. Maybe jingle writers. I don't know, but we write so much music, and
I mean, we're lucky that we're three people who all write songs. So we have an album worth of songs each, and we're limited to about four or five songs each per album. So it's like
I think that's definitely a starter, is to not do too many Vice Quadrants every year.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean that cleared out like a lot of songs that were in, like, because I was just building up the space thing, and
Right.
so sometimes projects are like you're doing the long game. You're trying to see how long you can go, and I was still making space songs right up until we made Vice Quadrant. So it was, and then I was like, okay, that's it. I could probably still come up with more.
Do you have any space songs on the back burner that didn't make it on the Vice Quadrant? Or
probably,
no?
but they're probably incomplete or something. but yeah, now it's just like I want to do something else, but at the same time, space is pretty easy. It's a fun thing to sing about, right?
Segueing a little bit, with some of these issues that we're talking about, the podcast is actually a step, I think, in the right direction, because we're kind of expanding. Like we chose not to brand it as a Steam Powered Giraffe thing, even though it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of opening up, kind of the twin dynamic. Dave and I work together on all this. Obviously, we use a lot of people, but, obviously we have comics and we have, stickers and so much different media, and we're trying to expand. Our YouTube now has content that is not just music videos.
Yeah.
So that feels like that's kind of where everything's going.
Yeah,
internet basically.
We're just I've listened to podcasts for quite a while, at least a few years, and I've always wanted to do one, but it was like, do I start one on my own? But then it's like, no, we have to, make it Steam Powered Giraffe, but if we make it completely Steam Powered Giraffe, we don't want people to think, oh, I'm going to tune in and hear about robots.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to talk about Steam Powered Giraffe.
This.
I'm sure you guys are learning a lot about the internal workings, which is great.
But we want to be able to talk about stuff like VRs, because, I know Bunny and I can just talk forever about
super passionate
anything.
about technology and
when
art.
I don't know, and you guys, when I hear people on podcasts talking about stuff, it's like I'm engaged with them because I'm like, but just like when you talk to a friend or something, that's what it feels like eventually.
You can imagine what you would inject into the conversation.
So it's like,
it's stimulating.
Plus, it's a good way to connect with fans, or future fans, who knows, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, hopefully we're having a podcast, listening to us, we might attract a different type of person who might not even check us out otherwise.
I wouldn't go as far as, I'm not going to say this. We're going to be great podcasters, but we definitely have content to fill it with.
Regardless, I think the benefits for us as individuals and such is worth it. Even if our shows are terrible,
it's an outlet.
It feels good.
That isn't exclusively Steam Powered Giraffe related.
Now I got to cut that F word that I just said out.
No.
Darn, but
I didn't hear it.
It feels good.
Write the time down. What time is it?
It is 5:23.
Wait, but that's not gonna.
I thought
what
you
is the? What is
wanted
the?
to know the time.
My bad.
Figure out what it is.
I'll look. Where am I looking at?
You'd have to press F1 on the keyboard. Well, no, you have to be actually in the.
Wait, is it 1:44? So click over here. Wait, here it is. 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Yeah,
wow.
Okay, 2 hours 8 minutes.
But
so
is
2
that
hours
just
7 minutes? Write that down somewhere in the.
Wait, is that it?
2:07.
But this cut out. We only recorded
2 hours 7 minutes. Is
2 hours.
good.
Yeah,
7 minutes.
that's the one thing that is, we are adults and we sometimes use adult language, and it can be really hard to.
But I've listened to podcasts that are like the F word every few seconds or something. But
I guess that's also
we're not that at all. If we say it, I'll say shit or something. But that's PG-13. So.
Sorry, I was passionate about whatever I was saying, which I've totally forgotten.
Yeah, now I don't want to mark the podcast as explicit.
Explicit?
Explicit.
That's what I said.
Explicit. Well, sorry guys about that.
I didn't even. Because we don't really swear all the time, so it's usually used in a good way.
It's good. I'm digging it.
I think we're pretty tasteful with swearing, but because I hear some others and I'm like, I kind of just get. Even the topics, we don't really make jokes that are too crude.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think this is the podcast for anyone who's under 18 and has a problem with language. But I don't think we're gonna be vile or.
Yeah,
anything.
I'm sure there's families that'll listen and stuff, but I'm hopefully they I feel it's like The Simpsons or something. That's the PG-13. You gotta.
Yeah.
They'll say something, but I don't know. I'm sure no one will complain. It's also exclusive, right?
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to label it.
Right. Well, it's also more work to go in and have to cut out the.
Right. There's podcasts that have to do that. I've listened to a few. If they have to be all ages or something, they have to go in and out and. Yeah. So I'll cut that out.
I know you can say the F word in PG-13 movies a couple times nowadays.
You get one.
You get one now.
But yeah, if you say that once in a podcast, you have to label it as.
Sucks.
There's no ratings.
Oh well, Bunny's fault.
It's also more about content too, like what you're talking about. We're not gonna make lewd jokes and stuff, and
no,
we actually weren't very funny.
Doesn't really.
Gosh, be funnier.
I think we're also finding our comfort zone, and just getting lost in
Yeah.
a normal conversation is That's kind of the idea,
That's
right?
a good start. Yeah, that's what I
Right.
was
Like, who
hoping
cares?
for.
Like, this is pretty good for a first episode, even with...
I'm really comfortable around you guys. You know, like it's
this is really easy. Like
it's really easy. Like
I have had no trouble, pretending the.
But I don't talk to Sam and Steve as much as I do you guys, so I don't know what that dynamic's going to be like as much. Like
I think it's good. We should we should figure out who our next guests are going to be and like.
Let's just live stream the next time we all get together to sign CDs
I don't know
and
when it's
unwrap
going to be.
CDs because
We'll
just
definitely
gets crazy.
Ask Sam and Steve. We'll probably do. It's probably a little easier to do 3 people at once. I would imagine maybe the two Penyaks would be pretty easy to do.
Yeah,
because
we can
I feel
start
like
with 3. We can
you don't
add
talk
some
as
more.
much as.
I think I talk more than Camille, but
so that might work.
But I definitely think it'd be fun to have the 2 of us on.
Sure.
And so
does she work Mondays? Let's not give personal information out. But
she has another job too. Yeah, she's not available most Mondays.
So that means never. She'll never be on the
Yeah,
mic.
we would have to record it a different day.
It'd be cool if we got some like celebrity guests.
Or if we schedule it, if we did it at night.
Well, I know, most podcasts.
Or if we scheduled it way ahead of time, she could.
The only live ones that I know do it like even when it's inconvenient to them, they do it late at night because it's the only way that they'll get the West Coast. So that's where we would have to do it. We'd have to do it like after 6 p.m.
That's all right.
That'd be like 9 p.m.
Yeah, and some people that'd be like morning for them if they're on.
We're gonna get celebrities on here eventually, right? Like, I mean, you can actually
we'll
have people come in from a phone. It's not the best to have them from a computer, but
we're not.
What if Sylvester Stallone wants to?
Let's talk about your project.
Big fan of Steam Powered Giraffe. I just want to be on your podcast.
Maybe we.
If you could do
that
a better
like
Rocky
a lot of work. Set up Skype and stuff. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, if they can't
they can't come to my house.
They can't. If Sylvester Stallone cannot come to our house.
But I'm sure Sam. We'll talk about him being a vegan, his dog probably. Steve can probably talk more about VR a lot.
So we're here now. We're
Dungeons and Dragons.
We're expecting what they're going to talk about.
I just spit.
Which is what we actually don't talk too much like this around each other because it's mostly just business.
And this is actually forcing us to be normal people.
So I'm sure we learn a lot more about each other.
It's
which
good.
is great.
This is very cathartic.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we got to see each other so often.
That's the right word, right? I said that right.
Cathartic, yeah.
Almost.
Kind of remember that you guys are people.
Catharsis
is nice.
Cathartic. Cathartic is a word.
And catharsis is not.
Yeah, it is.
What'd you say?
They both are.
You're not laughing at what I said.
I am laughing at what you do. Yes.
You have your own joke that I missed.
No, it was not a joke.
What do you do?
It's the old age. Dave and I just turned 30 last week.
We're the big 3-0.
I don't feel terrible. I just feel like, okay, gosh, childhood was hard.
People get happier the older they get.
It's because you always have so many firsts when you're growing up, and you have less and less firsts as you get older.
Suddenly, a lot of I get less anxious as a person as I get older, but that's because I'm making progress towards that. Like there's not too much things that I haven't had to deal with. I've had to deal with taxes, auditing, like this. The only thing I haven't dealt with is the death of someone close, and that's the one that scares me the most because I don't know many people, and when it happens, it's like they're going to be a big chunk out of my life. Whereas we've had like extended relatives die, and I just didn't have.
It's weird. I've been thinking about that too. Maybe it's just the age, but it's like. That's one of the experiences we don't have.
I've never had anyone close die around me. I've experienced death and I've seen people die, but none that I was close with. So it's like, oh, that's really sad, and I know what that feels. But it's a different feeling when it's like, a grandparent that you weren't close with and you were a kid, or a friend of someone who died and you met them once. Like that was a surreal feeling when I had to experience that in high school. But and fans too. That's there's been unfortunately there's been a handful of folks who we knew, and we met at least once or twice, and now they're gone. And that's some promoters too, events promoters and stuff. Like that's kind of my first taste of like death on someone that I actually like interacted with, or they touched my life, I touched theirs, that kind of thing. But personally, God forbid our stepmom or our dad die, or Bunny or Chelsea or Penyak or Steve or
Chelsea or Penyak.
I'm gonna say
I'll
is
tell
that,
Penyak
that if I
that
do,
she's
if I die,
you're
I want.
really,
If I die, you gotta continue doing this. Like, you got to. You have to. That's my demand.
As long as Chelsea's still.
You'll find a way.
Because you help me run a lot of the business.
Yeah.
Find a way. It has to. I mean, I mean, it is scary. Like, if I lost David, I don't know what
Who
the
would
fuck.
pay everyone?
It would
How
be,
would you even know?
yeah, no,
How would
oh
you
my
even
god.
know how?
I mean,
All right.
honestly, if I died, it'd be all right.
Someone get a paper.
yeah,
We're
like, it
gonna
wouldn't be
write
as
wills
stressful.
right now on the podcast.
I was thinking about wills more recently.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, I mean, I want everything to go to Bunny. That's just hands down. There's
Quite a topic run. Now.
This is definitely a good first episode. We've got a wide range of topics.
And we start on a real
VR, death of a loved one,
Yes.
and what would theoretically happen.
I would want. I don't have anything. It's not like we have estates. We don't have property. We really don't have anything.
The
to our
biggest
name.
problem with David dying is that there's so much stuff that he does that he has not told anyone else how to do.
It's true. It's like the company would,
I mean, it
would
is
probably
true.
go into the ground because
Yeah, there's
I'm the
just
only
no
one
way.
that can
We
do it.
try to save it. We tried our hardest through our tears to.
I mean, some of the bills would get paid automatically, and there's a few that just pay themselves automatically.
See, these are isn't it? Is it weird growing up? Like, it's like we're kind of imagining this. It's almost like we want to chase that experience, but we're dreadful. We're dreading it. But it's also something we haven't experienced. But you kind of want to experience something like that because you know you're going to experience it.
We want to be
sooner or later.
desensitized because once you experience something terrible, like I thought, I don't know, like there's not too much left in the world that scares me. Being on stage, that's always scary a little bit every time you go on stage.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you've done it before, so you have this vague feeling of like, I know what a good show is and I know what a bad show is. So hopefully I land somewhere in between.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been performing on stage since I was like 7, and I still get the butterflies before a show. It's,
Yeah. But like the same thing with tax and stuff. That used to like stress me out. But now it's like there's been so many shitty things with that, like running a business. It's eventually you can't care anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, it's been a year since that one thing that we submitted. You know what I mean? Like it just eventually it teaches you patience. It teaches you how not to have anxiety. I still get anxiety. I mean, whatever. That's
everyone does.
but there's a lot of stress.
Or
But
I guess it's easy for me to say everyone gets anxiety when I've lived with anxiety my whole life. I don't know. Does everyone deal with it?
I mean, sure, everyone deals with stress, which is a form can be too.
I think we're probably more high stress running.
Well, I
Just
mean,
typically,
anyone
I
who
think,
works with us
but-
would. I mean, I think that's why because having this conversation with more mellow people like Steve and Sam, I know it kind of puts them on edge a little bit, like because
Sure.
we're so comfortable talking fast.
I feel
and
Honestly, to be
very
honest-
much on
to
the
be
same
honest-
wavelength as you guys.
To be honest, you guys are a little more anxious about things than I am, but I do get that same way. Like right when I came in, is like it's a madhouse trying to get all this stuff together.
we ran
and you guys are
fucking
working.
late.
You guys are working in like super fast
I
mode,
don't-
and
I
I wasn't ready for it. I was like, whoa. But-
I don't know.
It's because
like,
I had a
I'm-
breakthrough right at the
Right.
last
I
minute to
might
get
be
the camera working.
misremembering the quote, but I think like years ago when I first started working with you guys, I heard that like you had said something like, "Oh yeah, Chelsea's great. It's like having a second David in the group or something." And like, as far as wavelengths go, I
Right.
see it. Like we work really well together because we're just kind of like have the same mentality and anxiety about things. I don't know.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of finding people that kind of fit where the pieces that you don't have, basically.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't do it without them, it's that it reinforces the good things that you can
Well,
do.
yeah, and we're not similar enough that it's too much.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
we are different, but there's
working with Bunny so closely for so many years, I think we do have too many similarities. So it was kind of like if one of us did, we kind of fed off of each other. Whereas I can
We have
reassure you, you can reassure me.
differences.
We're
in the way,
we only have that probably now after moving away from.
I
each
think
other.
it's like
true,
a empathy type of thing, or like we could be stressed but handle a situation differently, but we understand how the other person's thinking and feeling, so we're able to cooperate better.
That's a nice feeling, and it's rare, I think. But there's something to be said about people that it takes a little more effort. Like I think not that Sam and Steve and everyone is great. We get along with them great, and I think their different energy adds something unique.
Mm-hmm.
But it requires more effort. It requires being more conscious about what you're saying, about what you're doing.
I think I'm the parts that they probably are uneasy about me are heightened when I'm around them because I'm so so like, okay, I got to be a little more calm, but then I end up talking more than I would here, and
I can't win. I feel like I can't win around
I
anyone.
can't win around Sam and Steve.
I need to find more people that are like me because I can't.
I feel like
I can't be myself.
what does it feel
around
like? It
most
feels
people.
like it feels like you're not trying to impress them, but you're trying to show them a side of you that you show everyone else.
I think you're also trying to match them, and it's hard when you're.
Yeah.
And they might have the same struggle, but maybe they don't because they're different people. Maybe they don't even care.
Yeah, I
mean, that's another thing is working with Mike, John, Matt, Steve,
It's so
Sam,
many different people.
so many different personalities. But also, the one thing I take away from it is that most people just don't care as much as we do.
Right. I think that's the case. Like, yes, we have the experience of working with many different people, and that's great. But I think just maybe us in particular, we're just a little concerned about what other people think too much.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of like that too.
I am.
Or maybe a lot concerned about what other people think.
Definitely.
And that's just because insecure. Our childhood was garbage.
Something like that.
Yours probably was fine.
No, I didn't have a bad childhood.
Your
but-
childhood was terrible.
No, I grew up just fine. I can't say I had a bad childhood, but I guess that goes to prove that anxiety isn't something that that necessarily happens to you over time. Like I grew up with a happy home life and childhood and everything, but I'm still racked with nerves half the time. It's just I don't know. It's how I've been wired since birth.
I'm a little bit of is environment, but some of it
Yeah,
probably
sure.
is built into it. It's probably a mix of both. I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I got from our childhood, our upbringing, a lot of that is kind of like I've gotten over that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in the back. The worst parts of me when I'm really down, that kind of stuff surfaces.
Right.
But for the regular day life, I feel I'm normal now.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, a big part of it probably is environmental because, I mean, I grew up my whole life ever since, age 5 in a classical ballet environment. And yeah, I've dealt with a lot of body issues in the past and, really worried about what other people think of me because I'm growing up in a world where, people, you're auditioning for a part and you can be torn to shreds by the directors or whoever's auditioning you. And I realized that over time, after retiring from professional dance, over the last few years, I've shed a lot of my insecurities and anxieties, but it's already hardwired into me. And I still overthink so many situations and worry about what people think of me after an interaction. And I know the logical part of my brain knows that they have already forgotten about the situation, but it'll keep me up for years.
Gosh.
I don't know. And I think probably now that I think about it, a lot of that does have to do with the environment I grew up in and very strict rules for body and mentality and stuff.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a relief hearing you guys say that. It kind of reminds me that, okay, yeah, I'm not... Sometimes I interact with so many different people that are nothing like me.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like I'm very broken, but talking to you guys, it's like I'm reminded, there's other people that operate on that wavelength.
So many people deal with it. I mean,
There are,
I was in my young teens watching a teacher, just shame and put down this girl right in front of me in a ballet class, and it's a really tough thing to grow up with.
Gosh. I mean, that's a whole other...
it opens your eyes to how many people deal with insecurities because of their environment.
And we're insecure people maybe for different reasons. I mean, I think what David said, some of this was my environment. I'm getting to the point where I'm realizing what parts are me and what parts are trauma.
Yeah.
And I can starting to separate that. It's kind of tricky because a lot of trauma, but there's also just things I don't know if this is just because of my environment. I automatically jump into this kind of train of events or thoughts that kind of lead me down a bad path.
Yeah.
I don't know how much is it, nature versus
some of it's
nurture.
other people too, the ones we're around. I mean, even I had a negative effect when we were living together because we kind of siblings get on each other's nerves.
Right, and we kind of just feed each other. We feed each other's paranoia and fear and anxiety.
And that's what I was saying about working with Chelsea. A lot of the stuff we moved over from you to her, just to get the workload off of us. Mm-hmm. And it kind of, I mean, there's every once in a while I'll still have my thing, but the difference is when I get she's not that way, and then when she, sometimes maybe I don't know, I can be the opposite.
It's good.
No, I can definitely recall times where
two Bennetts together is not a great thing all the time.
There have been stressful episodes. We're prepping for a show or something where I'm able to I don't know, maybe I'm not as close personally to the situation because you're more invested in the company, that kind of thing, where it's like it helps to have my more level-headedness around because I can help diffuse the situation.
Because for me, when I get
whatever.
like a customer support email, or not that I reply to them, but every once in a while I'll see them because I just double check stuff, and then I take it really personally, like, like, what do they mean they want this? Like, we already sent them 2 of these, like, or something.
Dave and I are a little passionate. It's probably best that we don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but when it's casual and I don't have to see it, it's like so much easier to be like, oh yeah, I'll just send them another one.
Shows are pretty great. Like, I mean, I think we all kind of approach. Shows can be, people are cranky because we're flying all day and or like it's stressful, so it's like it's great that we have our own rooms, and I'm glad that's in the contract because we really, and especially David and I, we need the separation just so when we come together it's
we lived a good 28 years or so of our lives together.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's been like a few years in between where we weren't, but almost every day and when we finally, we're able to.
It's been about 2 hours, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Now that when we finally were able to move away and not be roommates anymore, which was great because it's the only way we could have survived on the money that we didn't have.
Right.
And now we kind of can do it with, I have a 1-bedroom apartment. It's nothing fancy, but
it's more expensive, but it's definitely repaired our relationship, made us stronger as business partners, I think. And there's a lot of my trauma and David's trauma is shared, and so it's hard to look at your siblings and not see everything that you were made from, and we can
it's the same thing with living with your parents too,
Right.
And with siblings it's even more because you're the product of those 2 people, and siblings kind of look at each other like we're the same. Obviously we're different,
right?
And twins were even more the same, I imagine. But when you're living with your parents, you're seeing where you came from all the time, and everyone loves their parents, but you got to move away to love them more.
That's true.
That's what it. Some people can live with their parents, if it works, but I don't think I could anymore.
It's all dependent. I mean, I have friends who still live with their parents. I do, and but I'm like best friends with my mom. I hang out with her more than some of my other acquaintances.
I see that with your parents. Bunny and I mean, we're close with our parents, but I never feel.
It's very different.
And I have other friends who still live at home who are around my age who there's no pressure or anything because they get along so well. So I think it's all just it's dependent on the environment, and I don't know.
There's a lot of things to consider.
Happens in your
person.
I wouldn't say anything's bad happened in our lives. That there's always someone who had it worse, but our worst was bad for a while. But there's definitely the other side of that, which is like someone living in a crack house or a crack den, and we didn't have that. I don't think we were ever in danger. Maybe a little bit, but
it's just given us definitely some challenges that we've had we've kind of struggled to get through, like mentally and stuff. Like that would have been great not to have, But considering everything that we've done, it's pretty amazing. We're very socially.
You make the
awkward
best of
people,
what
and
you've got.
We're in the public light. We're very sensitive and stuff, and yet we put ourselves out there every day. Like that's crazy. Like that's cool.
I kind of went away from Tumblr. I mean, obviously we leave our social media with Steam Powered Giraffe on there, and moved to Twitter and Instagram and the Facebook stuff because I just don't have the time to read people's paragraphs about how much we suck or whatever. but I mean,
it's hard.
And that could be a whole episode about social media and what you shouldn't do as a
But what I was saying with that is that it's I don't remember what I was saying.
Something about that.
You didn't have enough time, so you switched over to like Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, and with a podcast, this is also a way to, because I used to, really type and reply back to fans as much as possible, but the numbers just got so big, it just was impossible, and it was like,
plus
you can't.
Yeah, and your sincerity, like I always worry that my sincerity is going to go down, because honestly, it has, because how many times can you iterate the same thing and have it be, feel genuine? And I don't want to, I'm always appreciative, but I can't always write a message back to everyone.
So my other thought with this podcast was that this is a way for people to hang out with us.
Right.
Whether that's listening to the audio, which hopefully is decent quality. Our microphones aren't too great, but they're lavalier ones. And I think the little compressors and stuff I'm throwing on them makes them sound a little better.
Yeah. Or Engineer-eteers, you can actually be in the room with us.
Yeah,
this is you're in the other chair. You're just sitting a little bit further away.
Or your
VR.
fly on the wall. I don't know. We're looking at that fly up there.
Bennettarium VR someday.
Get out of here! Get out!
Yeah, I'll get the fly swatter.
Put a chair right there with the camera so they
And a wig and a
pretend
cowboy
they're-
hat so you can see. Like,
We'll have someone pretend to be you, like holding the camera, like drinking and stuff, and like holding it.
But no, it's because there's far too many Steam Powered Giraffe fans. And granted, we don't want to toot our own horn. We're not like super mega internet famous or something.
But it is a nice horn that we're tooting.
But we are only one person, so after a few 1,000 people, it just gets to the point where it's like, okay, I know a few people individually because we see them at concerts all the time. They tweet us all the time. So yeah, we do have usernames to faces for a few people, but for the mass majority, there's just too much people to interact with. But this is a great way to kind of, and I see that when I listen to podcasts too. It's like, I'm kind of sated. Like, I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm going to tweet this person. Not that I do that, but it kind of sates me like, oh, I'm hanging out with them. They don't really know anything about me. It's a very one-sided relationship, that's kind of how any of these internet stuff goes.
Yeah, I was reading a very interesting article about that from the point of view of like, whatever, a YouTube celebrity or something, and how, I don't know, fame used to be like you were either a really big star who had security and measures to keep you away from the people who get too close or whatever, or you were an average Joe, you weren't famous. But now you've got that in between of like internet famous people who don't have a lot of money, who don't have security, who don't have measures to bar them from dangerous encounters, or not dangerous, but it's now you've got average normal people who can be known worldwide because of the internet, but they're making normal income. They don't have the means to protect themselves from that onslaught
when we first
negativity and
got that onslaught stuff. I remember
or
feeling
too much
like,
positivity.
Like, whoa,
stalkers.
we're not making enough money to deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's I kind of now I kind of feel like it's not just us. That's happening to other.
Oh
things.
yeah,
and I only think like we're not making enough money. I don't know where that thought process comes from. Like, we're not making enough money to deal with this crap.
But it's true though, and it's not healthy to deal with it. You shouldn't have to because, that's the whole idea. It's like people should have their shitty opinions.
Well, you say crap, but we're not really going into what we're talking about. But basically,
generally, it's just
it's the internet.
So many people are dealing with this new type of fame, and we're still all trying to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
We've had so many missteps and and successes, but I think hopefully 10 years we're starting to crack the code about how to work it.
Yeah, I mean,
like
when I look back on some of our original posts back when we first came into Tumblr and stuff, it's like I didn't have the fears of what I'm going to say, and now it's like, oh, every time I post something, I'm like,
I look back
thinking about a million different things in my head.
Jesus, you can't say anything.
I look back at some of that. Oh my gosh! Like I'm almost like, why are you saying this? Why are you?
Well, because you go
What's
back.
wrong with you, Past Bunny? Like you
Because
can't say this kind of
Because
stuff.
when you talk to people in real life, you
don't have a filter.
can't talk normally on the internet because there's too many.
I mean, that's kind of sucks because
there's
like
too many communities that are looking for
right,
something
and
to
it's
tear
not,
you
and it's
apart
not
over.
that we're super filtered now. It's that our opinions are more reserved. I don't know. It just
it's all tied into.
it's really hard to talk about.
But how many people are gonna misinterpret what we're saying here? I can't imagine a sling of Tumblr posts are gonna come from this. I doubt Tumblr's even gonna watch this.
Yeah.
We're
Hey,
really
the new season of South Park is doing a great commentary on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we could talk about trolling and the dangers of fan communities and celebrities.
That could
for
be
a
like
whole
another
nother-
3 hours.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a lot of experience in that department, and
We do have 10 years of doing stuff like that, interacting with fans, stuff with social stuff. Not for 10 years.
I always
but
I always
least
say
half
like
of it.
even I have gotten a taste of that. The being a target of people who don't have any, who are just looking for a fight, and like I don't know how people have deal with it for years on end.
We'll
like
we'll put a pin in this topic and come back to
Yeah.
it. I know we could go on for a long time.
It's almost 6.
Yeah, we've had it 2 hours, longer than we probably anticipated, but this is great.
Well, we had to make up for the video that didn't-
Right.
So now we've made up the 10 minutes that we didn't hit record.
So I guess I feel it's coming down. We're wrapping up, huh?
We should talk about some upcoming Steam Powered Giraffe stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing next?
We're doing
YomaCon.
YomaCon 2016.
Again, yeah.
That's in Detroit, Michigan.
I'm excited.
It's a big anime convention. I don't know. I'm just putting a ballpark number here. It's around 30,000 people come to that one.
Probably more. It keeps getting bigger every year.
So I know we'll see some of you out there because we see a lot of familiar faces when we're out in Michigan. That should be a fun show.
David
After
and I,
that,
we're working on a lot of internal projects, but just I think after YomaCon we have
another music video shoot. We have
the Christmas show.
We have the Christmas show that we're working on.
Bakersfield, California, December 17th.
Which is just a normal show. It's just
You just tack on the holiday title.
We say more Christmassy things.
Yeah, I mean we try to keep our show. If any of you don't know, like we try to keep our show pretty much the same from January to December. That way when you see us, you're not missing out on something that someone saw in January, which
Yeah.
I know is important to some people. I know other people see us multiple times through the year, and maybe they get a little tired, but they also kind of know that we do change up the set.
We did add some songs kind of a little bit like in February and stuff, and that's just the nature of.
Yeah, and also for the Christmas show, we play one additional song.
Right.
I think we have to. That one's a 2-hour show, so it's a little. Some shows are different than others, but for the most part, we try to keep the act the same for a whole year. So basically, you're seeing the same. You're not missing out if you see us in one place or another, other than a venue with crappy sound system or lighting.
Yeah, we're working internally. I mean, so many things that we can't talk about for the new year. So
we can talk about. We're working on. I'm working on the Overdrive music video. I've been posting stuff to Instagram, and I know some people have commented on that. Wow, it's so great to see this. And for me, it's more because I'm not posting essays anymore on like Tumblr or something. Here is an image of what I'm working on, and it takes a few seconds out of what I'm already working on for the day. I don't have to stream as much. But I even did that when I was recording some guitar for the YouTube concert that we're making, which is coming together nicely. Even though the footage is not exactly great that I wanted. The camera shots were meh. But the audio sounds terrific, and I periscope some of that. So if you follow us on any of these social streams, there's definitely... You can spend your entire week with us.
Yes.
And that's just like being best friends, right?
Right.
I mean, kind of.
And I'm working on comic stuff. It's been hard to jumpstart all that because I'm doing video stuff. But so many projects, so many things going on right now. So yeah, you'll probably see us pretty active on our Instagrams and Twitters. And
this has a Twitter. The Bennettarium has a Twitter. It's at the Bennettarium. That's TheBennett Arium.
So
ARIU.
And if you can't find it, there'll be a link on our website eventually. So steampoweredgiraffe.com. This is the first episode, so hopefully by the time I've been slowly adding stuff to the Engineer-eteers site, and give us some feedback.
Sure.
Constructive stuff. I know some people said I see some stuff on Twitter about lower internet connection. People having an issue with the stream stuttering. Everyone else seems to get buffering every once in a while. That seems normal. I'll be looking at the analytics after this. It doesn't post till 2 hours after the stream, so I'll be able to see how many people were in there.
Right.
Adjust some stuff to make it work. We're doing a little differently. Hopefully this is a little higher quality than our past streams. But
let us know what you liked. If you have some things you'd like to say on the topics we discussed, write them up.
Yeah. We'll slowly look at our Twitter. We could probably do more of that in the future.
Yeah, I got Twitter.
Just answer random questions.
The Engineer-eteers forums, you can continue the conversation from here and there.
Yeah, there's also a chat room if you need to go and talk to people after the stream. There's usually 1 or 2 people in there. There's a little chat room.
Thanks so much for joining us for this new endeavor of ours.
Sorry for the late start, but it was totally worth the wait because I was setting up. I got the cable I needed from Amazon, and I had an hour or so to set up the camera because we were just going to do it with a webcam, but then we were able to make use of our nice quality camera with this nice cable.
Is our next episode on Halloween?
Oh.
It is.
Wait. Is it going to be a post-mortem Halloween show?
Is it Halloween's a Monday, but
right
it's 2 weeks away or?
No, the next one's on the 24th. So, but yes, 31st is Halloween. That's a Monday.
Oh.
That's gonna be weird because it's live on Halloween, but then the Halloween show comes out a day after Halloween. And it's like, okay, enough with that Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we could do it Sunday if we really wanted to.
I guess we could.
But
We'll see.
yeah, most people probably want to tune in the same time. But unfortunately, if we want to get more guests, we're gonna need to adjust our time to when they're off work. And unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to live stream to get everyone to a perfect time.
But typically check in on Tuesdays for the audio, and
yeah,
just subscribe to everything that we put out there, because then you'll have your source.
for sure. Okay, so that's pretty much all we have to talk about.
How do you end these? Like, what is the?
They usually have like a
Bye.
song, but we don't have one of those.
We'll have to.
It's a wait. We do the slow version of it. It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe. It's the Benny and the Jets.
All right, later everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
I can't just stop the
Make
stream.
sure to hydrate.
I actually
I
have
just
to
think
get
that's
up
important to
and
know.
walk over there. So this
Please
is a little
hydrate.
awkward.
Thanks for tuning in.
Here, let me just unplug this. It's just so spaced out. Bunny and the Jet.
You're gonna have to pay royalties to
Yeah.
John now.
It's gonna be flagged on YouTube now.
No. Okay, goodbye.